You're listening to Well, I Laughed, Part 1 of Shoot Your Shot, Lifelong Loser.
And start the episode.
Okay, is this where we're queuing?
I was ranting about how there are no ethical billionaires, and then Grant started talking
Which
about
I agree.
how his college hasn't received enough funding.
Warren Buffett hasn't donated anything to the University of Nebraska. So true.
Wait until he passes. Then
Fingers
it might show
crossed.
up.
National Champs 2035. His passing, of course, will be sad.
How are you, Grant?
Good. You know, how blessed am I to be tired from a day that brought me joy?
Fuck you.
I'm like,
get out of my house.
No, but I really am for reals tired, like in a great way. Mm-hmm. And like, this is very much a gratitude practice to be like aware of how wonderful life is. And sorry if the seasonal depression be hitting you. Like, I don't mean to be this ray of sunshine, but also I was melting into my car's heated seat on the way here. I'm ready to sleep. Like, not like tonight. I mean, like for a long time.
That sounds like depression.
I know. Well, also, it sounds like the Thanksgiving break is just around the corner.
It's so close, I can taste it. I have a fun story from work today.
Please.
I have a daily call with a team that is in my construction trailer, but there's like 4 offices in the construction trailer and then a big main area. They are in the office like directly catty corner to me. And the first couple times we had this meeting, I went over there to like have the meeting in person. And then I quickly realized that there's a lot of think time during this meeting that the other team has. So it's helpful for me to have a bigger screen than just the laptop that I can carry over to their office. So it's helpful for me to be at my desk. And also it's helpful to have another screen that is not the things that we're working on. And today, so when we do that meeting, it gets kind of echoey in the trailer because like you can hear my voice from the other side. And so we close the door to our office and it's me and 2 other people in my office. And like 5 minutes to the end of this meeting, I was like trying to go over with them like what we're going to try and do the next couple days in these meetings. And then we start hearing yelling from the conference room. And then everyone kind of gets quiet. And then I'm listening. And then after a minute or so, I'm like, oh shit, we're in a meeting. I'm like, hi guys, like, what are we doing? And then they were like,
the whole meeting stops to start listening.
Oh yeah. And then they are like, we kind of want to listen to what's going on in there. And I was like, yeah, me too. And we hung up so that I could open the door so that we could all listen to what was going on.
I didn't think stuff like that happened. That's phenomenal.
I don't know who the man was who was yelling. I think he might be on the client side, but it was so entertaining.
It is giving in my world very much the hi class. No, I just need to borrow Miss Warner for a second. No, and so I saw her get escorted out of math class. Yeah, Thompson's in there now. Those kids aren't going to learn anything. I think she's been drinking in the parking lot.
Oh my God.
Right, have fun with Miss Warner.
It's the clipboard.
Friday after school. Yeah, absolutely. Play as well. Okay, cool. Bye. Okay. And then I give you like a saucy little wink. Mm-hmm. My hair is touching the heavens.
Yeah.
It's hair sprayed up. Yeah, now I get you.
I love that. I love when this shit happens because everyone in the office just kind of gets real quiet. Like people were whispering elsewhere in the trailer and it was like there's literally no need for this. And sometimes I'm like, I used to be involved in a lot more of the higher up meetings when we were in the design phase. And I don't miss that. But then I recognize that some people want to know have that level of visibility. And you don't realize that the only way executives make decisions is by screaming at each other. I've been a part of so many very contentious Zoom calls. And personally, I love it. I've never been yelled at on one of them. So that feels fine.
I love that for you.
Yeah, thanks.
You and I have had, I think, slightly different work experiences.
What? Really? You don't work in spreadsheet?
Over the last 5 days, I've been given a series of gifts. Yeah. Let me tell you about them, okay? A senior in our woodshop class laser burned my face into a wooden plaque.
Oh.
And don't worry, they found a horrible picture of me. 2 weeks ago, without my knowledge, they go, Thomas looked disappointed in us. Click. And then they ran out of the room.
Now burned
right
into
behind
wood.
Me. Yes. Today, this morning, a sophomore brought me a freakily accurate clay creation of me.
It was on your Instagram. It was crazy.
It's perfect, and it is my child, and I'm struggling between the push-pull of wanting to bring this home where it will be safe and I can preserve it, and keeping it at school where it can bring me joy, fun. But will eventually be stolen or dropped or taped to the ceiling. Because that's just what young people do, you know? And they do it to us.
Could they tape something to your ceiling?
My ceiling, no, but there are ceilings they could get to.
Your ceiling is so tall.
In a world of ultra violations. So, senior woodshop, sophomore art and claymation. Mm-hmm. And then finally, I guess our sophomore advanced chemistry classes, we're doing notes of gratitude today. And I got 2 from 2 sophomore debaters. First, girl, thank you so much. I love this class. I know we're a lot, but this class has been so wonderful, amazing, adorable, colored in, perfect, amazing.
Yeah.
Another one, this one from a sophomore queer identifying student. Gratitude card gets slapped down on my desk. There is only one color, green. They have filled in the G. They have skipped the R. They have filled in the A. They have skipped all other letters and then written in a Y at the end of gratitude. I am stupid enough that I think it says gratefully because I'm reading it and also trying to launch a lesson and finish a lesson and answer 2 questions. And then one of my kids goes, gay. And then I have to open it up. And it says, I guess you're okay for a gay person, frowny face. It's one of my queer students.
I'm obsessed with that.
Actually concerned I might be a gay elder to this child. So obviously, naturally, I bent it so that way it was folded open permanently to where there was a frowny face next to a pride flag. And then I stapled it to my bulletin board right next to the grumpy cat version of myself burnt into wood. And the little clay figurine saw all of it.
I want to see the Pixar movie where all of those things come to life.
And that's Fox News' radical gay agenda. Yeah, so it's nice to be loved, and oh God, nope, I actually can't share that story. It's nice to be loved. That's what I'm gonna go ahead and end it there.
I love when Grant remembers that he does have a filter. The last couple episodes, or there have been a few episodes recently where you've said things that's been
on the edge. Yeah, for sure on the edge. Yeah. But I felt good about those decisions ultimately, mainly because, you let go or get dragged. You've heard me say that before.
It's just I'm not used to hearing horse phrases come out of your mouth.
I was told it was a Buddhist proverb, so that's really interesting.
Let go or get dragged?
Yeah, I didn't investigate it, obviously. I was going through a mental health
Buddhism
crisis.
would drag you?
So the other day, one of my sophomores comes into the room, and they go, guess what, Mr. Thomas, in front of 7 other children. And I go, oh, did she finally text you back? And then this student goes, you're not supposed to say anything about that. And then runs out of the room. And I was like, I am not your guys' parents. You can't, God, you don't understand me.
Because I don't care.
I clock out at 4:01 p.m.
I will not be losing any sleep over this, but thank you.
So that's been work lately. Yeah, it's been good. Are you enjoying the cold weather that we're having?
Today wasn't really that cold.
No, but at night it gets a little chilly.
Yeah, no, I love it. This is good weather. I prefer it in the springtime when it is lighter outside. Mm-hmm. And then there is the hope of summer. But here I am, looking forward to our little podcast break that we're taking.
Yeah.
I'm tired. I'm very tired. I'm so tired. And that's all.
And you also kind of get a Thanksgiving break here coming up.
Yeah, I do have 2 full episodes to edit before I leave on Sunday. So.
Oh, God. Okay.
Yeah. And a full schedule until then. So.
Yeah, I get that.
Yep.
Remember when you saw me on Sunday? Not a single word of the store was written on Sunday.
I love that for you.
Yeah. In fact, I was going to maybe soft talk about hey, maybe I changed the theme a little bit. And then I found out we had already been soliciting listener episodes. And I was like, it's fine that it's not an option.
I mean, we still could have.
No, it's okay. I had done a lot of like pre-watching of things and like a lot of content. Like I'd become an expert on it, but hadn't started to actually craft the story yet.
Yeah.
Which I think you and our approaches are a little different. Like I want to see the entire picture and then decide like how do I go through it before I put
increasingly
first word to
more
page.
like that.
Like that.
It has nothing to do with how lazy I am, by the way. Not at all.
I mean, it's 100% related to, at least in part, how lazy I am. So I hear that.
It was sarcastic.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah,
good.
It's that I want to get a little toasted, lay on the couch, and watch a documentary.
Right.
Kind of internalize some things, and then come back to it and actually take notes on it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, speaking of Sunday, we had like ham as part of Friendsgiving on Sunday.
Right.
And our dear friend Hayden, our dear friend Jacob, our new dear friend Henry, who's Jacob's younger brother, and then Jacob's younger brother's girlfriend's sister, Kelsey, who I've long been friends with. That was a very Nebraskan sentence. I'm going to slow it down for you real quick. Jacob's younger brother's girlfriend's sister, Kelsey.
It'll all just be so much easier when we can just say Jacob's sister-in-law.
And Lydia's
and then
like,
move on.
In La
Yeah.
Land.
That's fine. Lydia is in La La Land a lot of the time.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
Anyways, we had ham and like 4 Nebraskans came up to me and they were like, what's your plan with that ham bone? And I go, I'm going to put it in a pot of water and I'm going to boil it with some salt, onions and carrots. And I'm going to make a soup out of it. And they're like, okay, cool. Of course. If you were going to throw it away, I was going to grab it from you. But if that's what your plan is, absolutely.
I saw the
amazing.
ham bone and I went, someone's going to want it. And then I didn't think about it again.
So tonight I made that soup. I got home a little before 5 and I threw her in the pot.
It's just always bragging about making soup and shit. It's so annoying.
I even did that thing where you carve off the good meat from the bone still so that way you can throw it in towards the end of the boiling process.
Yeah, because I make a lot of soup and I know that.
I don't know what part of that was sarcastic, but I know a part of it was.
Probably.
Right. So if you throw it in at the start of the process, you're going to lose all nutritional value and the meat's going to become really rubbery because you're going to boil out anything in the meat.
Okay.
So you take off all of the good meat from the bone that you can, boil the bone, and that's mainly to get... Do you want to know this at all? Why am I explaining soup to you?
I don't know. I've been sitting here. I was preparing my snarky remark for when you finished. I was like, yeah, this is all good information that I will never use.
I just keep searching your face for like, should I continue? I don't know. Anyways, it was phenomenal. I have a lot of it. It'll be waiting for me, I'm sure, when I get back from Thanksgiving, but it was phenomenal. That was the nice dinner.
Fuck you.
I'm going to have it again tomorrow. I'm going to come home early if I can. Have a big bowl of it at like 4:30.
Take a nap.
Sleep.
Yep.
Sleep.
That sounds so
Wake up at
nice.
7:15 with basketball on and like their loud like buzzers going, which by the way, why are gym buzzers that loud? We're all there for the game. Are you
and
afraid
also it's
we've drifted
the
off?
Most echoey place on the planet.
With intentional soundproofing to trap all the sound in. Did you think we were all queuing up Netflix and forgot these hard bleachers were for the basketball game? What are you trying to notify us for? Also, no one's in the locker room anymore. They're all warming up. Whatever. Wake up from that alarm and be like, I really should move my body at some point today, and then go listen to like my soul R&B playlist that I'm listening to right now on the treadmill at the gym.
Cute.
I know.
I love that for you.
Thank you. I feel tall at the gym lately, so that's been good.
That's such a weird thing to say in relation to the gym. Like I feel strong at the gym lately. I feel like I healthy at the gym lately, or like I feel proud of my tall.
Yeah.
That's like just not something you can change.
No, and I'm
or get worse at.
I'm not holding it against anybody, but I do feel pretty tall at the gym I go to at least.
Okay.
There's 1 or 2 people that are tall and like obviously I'm staring. I'm kidding.
He is.
I mean, initially, how else am I going to know they're taller than I am?
You're measuring them against like where the fire alarm is on the wall.
I'm like, every single person in this gym is taller than me, but there's whole shelves I can reach that they can't.
Well,
and that's about being proud of my body as it is.
You did say there's a lot of people taller than me at the gym instead of shorter than me at the gym. And so it made it confusing when you then said there's a lot of shelves that I can reach that they can't. Because it was like, can they not crouch that low? And maybe you said it in a different way that I didn't internalize, but to me, it was funny.
Okay.
Just wanted you to know.
No, that's good because that was not what I was going for.
And that's what I'm here for.
I want to point out that I think one of the reasons why I feel tall at the gym is because I'm pretty sure the gym I go to is too close to an area high school. And I'm like, there's a lot of 16-year-old children there.
Schoolers.
Yeah.
Yikes.
No, I know. But I feel tall.
I don't I know that kids in high school go to the gym and that a lot of them have like workout classes for their sports, you know? But if you're going to the gym religiously in high school, you should also be going to therapy. Like, it should be mandated.
Thank you for saying that. I feel like you're the only person on this podcast that can really say that.
Because I went to the gym like a good number of times, I think, in high school. Like, not a lot, but like I would go. The first time I went, I think I ran 3 miles or something on the treadmill in one go. I had never run that much in my life, and I'm almost certain it was part of a mental health crisis.
I was gonna say, did you get away from it? Whatever was chasing you that evening?
I don't know. I was also running super slow, and I remember afterwards my mom was like, "Oh, that was your pace?" And I was like, and then I upped the pace the next time.
I understand why you ran 3 miles.
Yeah, and then I upped the pace, and I was like, "Oh, I actually can't run fast." Anyway,
this is like the soup I'll make. No, I'm kidding. But this really is like the soup I'll make right before I go on a trip or something, where it's like whatever is left in the cupboard, I'm just throwing in right now.
I've told myself. Sorry, no, you're good.
When we get back from Thanksgiving, you and I will have a whole host of new stories to share. Like, for instance, I'm going to see my sister again, and I promise you, listener, to top the pigeon and Prego pasta sauce story. Oh, I absolutely can. I don't know if I believe in God. I do believe that Allie has crazier things to say to me than the Prego pasta sauce story. So I'm going to come back with like a whole new life of stories to share. So right now it's just like, hey, here are the observations from the last week and a half that like you just get.
I mean, yeah, we recorded 2 days ago, so not a lot of new
Cupboard's
content.
Bare.
Yeah, cupboard's a little bare. I meal prepped lunch for like up until like we're leaving last night, and I was a little toasty. I like opened up my laptop or opened up the computer to do editing, and my computer like immediately froze, and I was like, that's a sign from God that I'm not supposed to edit tonight.
That's going to be a theme tonight, by the way.
A sign from God?
Editing. No, a sign from God.
Like
a sign from
editing.
God. Yes.
Jesus Christ. And I was like, I'm going to make that salad, like the quinoa salad, and I was going to pull up the recipe, and I was like, no. We're just going to do it by ear. It went well.
I just want to point out, when I cook, I usually do it by sight and touch. So
oh my God. You're so annoying.
Yeah, but that quinoa salad's a prop. Hey, listeners, some of you listen to a whole host of podcasts, and we're honored that we're one of them. And I mean this with love, and this is not related necessarily to this story, but just kind of in general. Maya and I have recently been sharing how patient, that's the word I'm going to use, patient you have to be sometimes when listening to podcasts hosted by 2 men, because all of the jokes are just
straight men,
immediate,
specifically.
100% straight men, because all the jokes are just immediate, obvious, and right there on the surface. I was at the gym the other night finishing up an episode in preparation for tonight's story, and it was one of those episodes that Maya and I will do sometimes, which is like, I'm wrapping up my research. I'm going to cast this net to make sure I didn't lose anything. So I wasn't learning a lot in the episode anyways. And like halfway through, I was like, I'm at the gym, and the thing I hate the most right now is the podcast that I'm listening to.
Yeah, that happened. I think it might have been Abscam or it was Ron Dante. But I do that now where like the day of, all I do is listen to podcasts. Like I'll just like search the name of the topic and then go through like the top 3 podcasts that show up. And teach me a lot about SEO and why it apparently favors male podcasts. But yeah, it's hard, especially because Grant and I have done a lot of work with like curating our content a little bit and making it more palatable to you guys and to us, honestly. And so when we listen to content that is just like objectively not what we aim for, it becomes really difficult to listen to. I am getting really tired of podcasts hosted by one person and they do like a dramatic reading of whatever research that they've done. I can't handle that shit.
A dramatic reading of their research?
And then Melvin Weinberg had this thought, and it's just like, I can't. I think I got through like 5 minutes of one and I was like, I'm sorry. And also like they over exaggerate so much that it's like I'm not actually getting any useful information. Like you're just laying out the story that I already know and you're not providing any new details that I can like reliably source.
Right.
Like you don't know what Melvin Weinberg was thinking.
When they get so first person, you're like, I can't cite you or this.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. Sorry, our story reminded me there was a note from the episode
that you needed to put in.
Yeah.
I've also done that.
And here it is. Found the section almost instantly. Honestly, my chapters for this is better than almost any chaptering I have done for you so far. So I hope you enjoyed that part of tonight's episode.
I will probably after Thanksgiving.
Okay.
I'm not getting to this one anytime soon.
I explain that to my students around grading. I go, I feel so bad. Our October ballot analysis was due on November 1st, and it's like November 15th, 16th, and I haven't gotten around to grading it yet. In my defense, that's 185 things that I need to read through. But I haven't cracked it at all.
That seems fair.
I'll get through early days in Thanksgiving break, but I was like, I'm sorry, y'all. Like, I just haven't gotten to it yet. And they're like, what? Oh, mister, like that's been so recent. We're not even thinking about getting a grade for that. I have a science teacher who hasn't graded a quiz since September. And she keeps telling us it's because she's in grad school. But weren't you in grad school year? And I was like, yes, I was. I was in grad school.
Oh my God. I guarantee you she's not getting a master's in communications.
No. Okay. Well, I mean, it sounds like she's barely getting a master's at all for the record.
I want to get fact checked. Someone tell me what kind of master's she's getting.
I also, there's, how do I say this? I just in my role, you hear a lot about other teachers in the building entirely, because this is the room where they go to talk, right?
Right.
And so I will sometimes say things like, God, I hope you guys don't talk about me this way in front of other people.
Yeah.
And I don't, like, there's always that thin line between like what isn't appropriate for a student to comment. Because if they're like stressed about like how they got graded, right? Or if they think like a teacher's being like extra hard on them, right? Like that's just them processing their experience.
Right.
If they're like, this person's an unqualified bitch, you know,
then
I'm
like,
oh, that's my coworker. And
yeah,
like
you can't do that.
even if I don't agree with their practices, like you can't say that about
in front
a coworker.
of me. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, God, I hope you guys don't talk about me this way. And they're like, oh, don't worry, we don't. We like you. And I was like, thank you. Oh, I feel complicated about that compliment right now. So today's assignment, like none of them got above a 90%. I just wanted to remind them that I also, no, I'm kidding.
That you're also mean.
Correct. No, they all got the grades they deserved. I wasn't trying to take any vengeance. They did not take the assignment seriously. And now, oh, that's what I was going to say. That's what this whole building to. I'm sorry. Listener, I warned Maya when I walked in. I was like, I'm pretty tired tonight. And so, you know, but like, I can't wait for tonight's episode. This is what I wanted to say.
Okay.
Earlier in the week.
Yes.
I told the kids on Monday.
Yes.
That on Friday, our last day before Thanksgiving break, I'm going to show a Martha Stewart documentary, and we're all going to make not the one on Netflix, but like where she's like, let's make turkey together. I prefer to stuff onions into my turkey. And then we're all going to make like hand turkeys and just like right where we're grateful for. And yes, they're all so excited about it. They were like, yay! Today, the half of my classes did their assignment, and they all did very poorly. And they're like, when can I do the retake? And I'm like, I think we'll have time on Friday. Little did they know I have intentionally not scheduled an activity on Friday. So they have the ability to like redo whatever. I know. And that's one of the things too, where it's like, I think I've really hidden the vegetables there. Hey, I want you, is that what we do during Patreon tonight? Nice.
Fuck yeah.
And then we can post them. I think that's a great idea. Maybe the best we've had in a while.
It's happening. I have the supplies. I'm trying to figure out logistically how. Anyway, are you ready for your story?
I am. Are you ready for the story?
I don't know. I have had to do no preparation for this, so I'm ready.
The opening line's really fun for you, I think especially.
Oh, okay.
Maya, what does Mr. Darcy, Charles Guiteau, and Tom Wamskins from Succession all have in common?
What was the middle name?
Mr. Darcy, Charles Guiteau, and Tom Wamskins from Succession.
Charles Guiteau?
A great question that potentially is going to be answered today.
Because I have no idea. Okay. I only know Mr. Darcy.
Well, the fun thing is that those three men have almost nothing in common.
Oh, that's cool.
Except
that they're men?
Sure. And they were all played by actor Matthew McFadden.
Okay.
McFadden. You guys know I don't. Tonight, we are going to talk about one of those people. Maya, any guesses to who we're talking about tonight?
The middle one.
Charles Guiteau.
Yeah.
Very good. Your name doesn't ring a bell or anything?
No.
Beautiful. With you sometimes, I'm like, I truly have no idea.
It's hard because sometimes I do go into rabbit holes. Yeah.
I want you to know, for our listeners, there's going to be a certain pie slice of them who like are very excited about this and also are probably never going to learn anything new about tonight's topic, but love talking about it.
Okay.
I'm aware that Charles Guiteau is some people's special interest in the way Typhoid Mary was some people's special interest.
The number of people who were commenting before the episode even really got started, they're like, Typhoid Mary!
Oh my God, yes!
It was like,
they're like, I'm working from home today.
It was like, Jesus Christ.
And it's so funny because there is no better canary in the coal mine for were you a science girl in school than do you know already a lot about Typhoid Mary?
A lot about Typhoid Mary is the key.
And then one of my favorite remarks was the book that was like the primary source of material for the Typhoid Mary episode. Someone was like, I read that book like 8 times when I was in middle school and I had no real appreciation that it was a legendary cook, Anthony Bourdain, that wrote it. I reintroduced Anthony Bourdain, the author of one of their favorite books. And that brings me joy.
Wild. Come on. Up. Good girl. Oh my goodness. That was so athletic.
Last kind of pre-thing before we get to like the first fact and the story gets out of off the blocks. Charles Guiteau is the subject of a Netflix series right now. I'll say the name eventually.
Okay.
I'm not going to talk about it. He's like one of the characters in a Netflix show recently, starring Matthew McFadden.
Crazy.
If you've seen that trailer, this is your heads up now that there's going to be a lot of spoilers in my story about that, right? Because Charles is a character in that show.
Yes.
So this is a heads up that if you wanted to watch that show first, please do and come back to this. However, if you have already watched that show or want to watch the show knowing ahead of time what's truth and what's been fictionalized, like tonight's episode's wonderful for you. Like I've now essentially done the work of like fact checking what is and is not true from that Netflix show.
Did you watch the Netflix show?
I did. It's actually what inspired this idea. There was a couple of ideas that were bubbling, and then I watched the show and I was like, I can make an episode out of this.
I love that.
All right. So with that, shoot your shot, part 1. Here we go. I'm going to introduce you to this man with gorgeous / potentially haunting eyes, Charles Guiteau.
He has seen some shit or is like actively seeing some shit. There's a murder going on behind the camera.
Oh, Maya,
he is just giving it up.
Of the many things you've just said, you said many things.
Okay.
Put that on a shirt. Put that on a shirt.
No.
Of the many things you've just said, you've said many things, which is in many ways true.
If I were a little toasted and I saw that shirt in public.
Are you not right now?
No.
Oh, great. Okay.
Did you think I was?
I kind of was hoping maybe we'd get more giggles out of you. No, it's great. You're in public and you're toasted. Go ahead.
If I was toasted and reading that shirt, I would be like, I would make someone else read it with me so that I knew I wasn't losing my mind.
Hey, do you see this? All right. So, chapter 1, early life. Charles Guiteau, spelled Guiteau.
Hate that.
I know. Well, it's French, so you know I agree. I'm kidding.
I take it back just to spite Grant. Spelled perfectly.
You've said many things. So Charles was born in Freeport, Illinois in 1841, the 4th of 6 children to Jane Auguste and Luther Wilson Guiteau. Their family were of French Huguenot ancestry. So let me explain that. French Huguenot is not an ethnicity, but a religion. So France was like famously Catholic. And during the Protestant Reformation, famously not cool with Reformation. So if you were in France and not a Catholic, there's a pretty good chance that you are Protestant, a specific branch of Protestantism called the Huguenots, which is named after a specific leader at the start of that movement.
Okay.
All of this is to say...
Victor Hugo, right?
Sure.
They were just worshiping him.
I forget you can't see it. Yeah. So to think that Victor Hugo's name would be spelled like this is... There's like a T floating around in here. That's crazy. What I'm trying to say is... This story begins in very American fashion. They're political and religious refugees.
Okay, so they're in America.
Yes.
And what year?
So Charles was born in 1841.
Okay.
His parents would have fled, potentially as children from France in like 1890-ish.
Okay, and did you say he had kids?
He is one of 4 children.
Oh, and you listed the other siblings. Can you say their names again?
Yep. So here's the second sentence. I'm kidding. I don't have the names of any of the children.
Oh, you said names.
Jane Austen and Luther Wilson Guiteau. His
Jane
parents.
Austen?
Yeah, August. August. Stop quizzing me on this, Maya.
Because when you said August the first, I heard Austen, and I was like, it's not getting the recognition I need, and I am not about to be John Wilkes Booth again.
I'm about to talk to you about Wuthering Heights. Charles Guiteau wrote Wuthering Heights.
I actually know a lot about the Bronte sisters right now, so...
I know you do. You sent me a video.
Yep. And I also made a long thread about it.
So, sentence 3. So he lives in essentially like Wisconsin. In 1841 is when he's born. His family's there, and then at a pretty young age, in 1848, his mom dies. So he's like 6, 7, 8 years old when his mom dies. And there's obviously not a lot written about his mom because at this stage in his life, this is not like a notable family by any means.
Right.
And, you know, her death is a small tragedy to this family, but like
not
otherwise.
A huge.
No.
Yeah.
But in going back and putting together pieces, Charles and his mom might have had like an odd relationship. Not like obviously he's like a young kid, but like could have been like kind of very controlling, maybe a little emotionally manipulating.
Okay.
Some people suggested that Jane Auguste, Charles's mom, was maybe a touch talking to people not there, you know, kind of stuff. Just a very particular and peculiar person.
Okay.
And she acted as a counterbalance to Luther Wilson Guiteau, Luther being a famous name for Protestant families.
Yes. Lutherans, you know.
Right. Who was kind of like fire and brimstone intense about his religion. Yeah. And who also was never cut out to be a father, let alone a single father, and was emotionally, for sure, and probably physically abusive to Charles and his siblings.
Crazy to be a fire and brimstone Protestant with a name like Luther.
No, I know, right? How ironic.
Yeah. With a name like Luther.
You know it's Lutheranism. So they bounce around a little bit. Being one of 4 children, I think some of his older sisters get married basically as soon as possible to just get out of the house.
Fair.
And so in addition to being now raised by like a violent and at times unhinged like evangelist,
right.
He's also like alone and being abandoned by people that would like share his situation.
Right.
In 1860, Guiteau is 19, and he himself now then also leaves the nest, moving from Wisconsin to Ann Arbor because he's going to attend the University of Michigan. And then he fails the entrance exam.
Oh, well, no longer going to the University of Michigan.
Yeah, fortunately, he inherited $1,000 from the death of his grandfather, which in today's money is $35,000.
That would be nice.
It is nice.
If anyone wants to give me $1,000 that turns into $35,000, that'd be great.
Well, it might have ruined Charles's life.
If anyone wants to give me $1,000.
Like, obviously, $34,000 is a big chunk of change.
Huge amount of money.
Like today. And there's thousands, millions of Americans where that's their like annual salary, especially after taxes. So I'm not trying to say it's like not for nothing.
Yeah, but it's not enough that you can quit your job and live off of it for the rest of your life.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's actually maybe the worst amount because it's just enough for you to develop at age 19 some pretty frivolous spending habits, but not actually enough to see it through to your death. You're not a Vanderbilt, right?
That's true. Yeah.
So he gets $1,000. He's kind of living it up in Ann Arbor. He's a little bit of a dummy because his father didn't really like teach him, right? Yeah. He wants to go to the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. So he's going to Ann Arbor high school to like study because like school is different at this time.
Yeah.
And his plan is to try to get into the university and like get a degree and stuff.
In a year or something.
Right. But school is tough. And his dad, now kind of all alone, is writing letters to him.
Oh, no.
His father keeps writing letters about how wonderful the Oneida community is in upstate New York.
I think it's Oneida.
Is it Oneida? Are you familiar with the Oneida community?
No, but I think it came up on a People of Agency episode recently, and I'm pretty sure we had to Google it.
Oneida. Oneida.
Yeah.
Okay, so he is being told about this organization called the Oneida Community.
Okay.
Which is a utopian religious sect.
Shut the fuck up.
In Oneida, New
Are we
York.
going to talk about cults?
A little bit. Very much so, yes. Which is very funny that that's your connection to this story so far.
I love a cult story. You know that.
Charles Guiteau is like, I don't really like studying, but this a utopian community in Oneida sounds really interesting.
We have all thought about starting a communist compound with our friends and just living off the land. So
I just want you to remember that for these next couple of sentences.
I'm already know I'm gonna stand by it.
Okay.
I've never said anything wrong in my life.
According to Brian Resnick of The Atlantic, a young Charles Guiteau, quote, worshipped the group's founder, John Humphrey Noyes, Noyes. Guiteau once said to his dad in a letter, quote, he had perfect, entire, and absolute confidence in Noyes and in all things. And that's probably because the Oneida community is a free love community, which makes it a sex cult.
We love a sex cult here. This is what, like the third time a sex cult has been brought up? Like just in the last like couple of months too.
Not to spoil this, but like this is what the next two paragraphs are about. In this story, and maybe only this story ever in the history of the podcast, the sex cult is the victim here.
I think in Him to Dionysus, or not Him to Dionysus, in Myths of Madness.
No, you're right. I think about
cult.
Him to Dionysus all the time too. You're not wrong about that.
I think that sex cult was also kind of a victim. Depends on what lens you look through.
All right, fine. I'll re-listen to Him to Dionysus. I have 14 hours of driving ahead.
Just re-listen to the episode I lovingly put together for you. But
I could, but there's more MLM action in him. Not a lot more, but a little bit.
More. It's just like
and
you know.
Yes.
It's just like holding hands and acting domestic. Which Grant wants, but like not too close.
No, not too vulnerable behind closed doors, but like let's keep our shirts on for a little bit.
Yeah.
So the Oneida community is a free love community in like 1859, 1860.
Okay.
What makes it a free love community? So the Oneida community was kind of the start of the free love movement. We're going to see it again in the 1960s through the hippies who like re-adopt it.
Yeah.
But the free love movement is a social movement that accepts love in all forms. The movement's initial goal was to separate the state, so the government, from sexual and romantic matters such as marriage, birth control, and adultery. It stated that such issues were the concern of the people involved and no one else. So it's actually really progressive. What they're trying to say is, if you want to get married, get married. If you guys no longer want to get married, get divorced. Mm-hmm. If you want to have an open marriage, and that's between you two. If you want to have a closed marriage, if you want to have a polyamorous marriage, whatever the rules need to be for you two, that's fine. But the government doesn't have any need for it. And of course, because it's like, the 1860s, there is like some weird like religious element that like strikes through it where they're like, why would the state get involved in like the idea of love, which is like a gift from God, and like how we understand love is like God's interpretation of it through us, which like, while I don't believe, I understand that like framework for things and also like get the government out of my bedroom. Mm-hmm. But I just want you guys to know that a preacher in 1860 was more expansive on their ideas of religion, love, and the state than like almost half of the Republican Party is today. Mm-hmm. So just throwing that out there.
Even though we're blowing Bubba.
The president or the horse?
Here's the thing.
I cannot wait for what this is about to be.
So I'm going to start off by saying I don't give a shit what the truth is. At this point, he's spread so much misinformation that I feel like he is owed to be shat on a little bit, or to, go down on someone, And so I'm going to keep believing that and spreading that because to me, it's harmless. It only harms one person. And I love that. Well, two people, but I don't actually think Bubba cares. I think Bubba is short for Bubba Hash, or like Bubba. It's a pretty common name for a strain of weed.
Okay.
Which I think is even funnier, but also like...
This is kind of now the Rorschach test.
Yeah.
What does your For You page think Bubba is? And it's actually just a reflection of your own hobbies. Also, a third of the way into this bottle of red wine, and I got the word Rorschach test right. That's
kind of.
crazy.
You
sure.
kind of got it right.
I mean, enough, So would I sound better with some Bubba hash?
I think hash is the right word. I'm not sure. I don't like that you just called out that my hobbies are horses and weed.
If not, then both of our hobbies are Bill Clinton, and I just can't allow that after the Monica Lewinsky episode. The free love movement promoted the idea that consensual sexual and emotional relationships between adults should be free from the state and religious interference. So really, it's not even fair for us to assume who Bubba is.
I can and I will.
Lost my spot. There it is. Emphasizing personal freedom, sexual autonomy, and women's rights, while intertwined with feminism and advocating for radical social change. The movement was often dominated by male voices and criticized for failing to significantly alter mainstream gender norms.
Do you think they were saying quiet piggy to the women?
Oh, because that's what Trump said to a reporter with everyone's clothes on and microphones running. Mm-hmm. Yeah? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Here's what I do.
Seems like an effective way to shut women up.
Here's what I do know. I know how Charles was received in Oneida, and it's not warmly.
Oh, no.
Charles's name was Charles Guiteau, and pretty quickly he was given the world's best nickname, Charles Get Out.
That's incredible.
I want you to know that
I have no notes.
That singular fun fact inspired
this
basically
entire
this
story.
entire
Charles
story.
Get Out.
Like
beautiful.
That, when your name's Charles Guiteau and then it's pronounced Guiteau, and you can just so easily change it to Charles Get Out, especially in a community where like basically like watching and participating was largely encouraged.
Yeah.
Like that's
Wait, so he's
beautiful.
getting kicked out of this free love community? Is that what's happening?
Not yet, though. Yes, he will. Kind of. We'll get there.
So he joins the community.
Correct. And then they'll be like, let's all 5 of us go down to the barn. Charles, get out. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, I love that.
There's a lot of...
They were all inclusive unless your name was Charles.
Guiteau. Unless your eyes had that of a Victorian child who died at Winter Forge. Yes, exactly. There's enough love for everyone except Charles Guiteau, for whom there is no love at all whatsoever. And so when you watch the Netflix show, I'll only do this a couple of times. When you watch the Netflix show, obviously they use kind of like some modern language in that scene, but by and large, the vibe is correct.
Incredible.
Now, what do? I'm looking at you, all you student council kids from high school, not my current students. Stop listening to this. But like us 30-year-old adults who developed like personalities.
I'll stop listening.
What? That's really good.
Thank you.
Also kind of mean towards you, which I wasn't prepared for. What happens when you're with a friend group of a lot of really cool people, but you're not doing any cool stuff? That's right. You just handle all the paperwork for them. No, guys, it's okay. I can go pick everyone up, and then I have a person that can get us like a 12-pack of beer. We're all making out in the backseat of my car. No, thank you so much for involving me. Yeah, 100%. We're all so close together, right? What are our plans for prom? I've already set them. The Oneida community is like, hey, Charles, no one wants to have sex with you.
Goodbye.
No one.
That's crazy.
No one.
To be so disliked, no one wants to have sex with you in a free love community. I would walk into the ocean.
I know a lot about this man's life, start to finish. He was born in 1841. Spoiler alert. He's dead. Start to finish, I know a lot about this man's life. Never once do you come across like, and then he had a healthy, loving relationship with a person he was sexually intimate with, which because of how much we know about this part of his life, you would think would eventually make the history books.
It's like at a certain point, statistically, he has to have one. Right? He's now a statistical anomaly.
Oh, God. I just love this episode so far already. So the Oneida community is like, hey, while we're all up here tending to the flock and tending to the flock. And then also like gardening.
Yeah.
Could you go down to Hoboken, New Jersey and start a newspaper to make additional income for us and spread the word? So they're like, you ugly, go find hotter people for us and tell them of our great works.
Show us your worth.
And he's like, that's exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. So he heads on down to New Jersey. He sets up a newspaper called the Daily Theocrat, where he talks about the Oneida community and the free love movement, and he completely and totally bankrupts the entire venture. Just start to finish, not good at all.
Yep, can see that.
Hard to tell if it was his own editing and journalism, or if the idea of, in 1862, a free love movement
was not well received.
Yeah, you know,
I wonder why.
The Daily Theocrat can't be Grindr. You know what I mean?
Because, I mean, they couldn't even take pictures yet. So what would they show? How long would you have to pose for one of those dick pics, you know?
That's such a great question. At least until the pain had printed onto the picture. I don't know how it worked. I think a whole minute. And because this isn't Patreon, I have to stop there. But once we get behind a paywall, I'll have more thoughts.
Okay.
Trust and believe.
I do, I think.
I like saying trust and believe, but like as a threat.
I didn't like that.
Where am I? Okay. So he goes off, he sets up the Daily Theocrat. It tanks after like 13 months, 14 months. He heads back to Oneida and he's like, more money, please.
Money, please.
And they're like, oh, no. And he goes, okay, I live here then? And they're like, oh, no. We sent you to go get more members and you failed. And we're willing to just kind of lose one more member at this point. Go ahead and get on out here. And he was like, I will sue you for lack of wages for work I have done. I am owed more money from you. And the Oneida community is like, no, you're not.
Well, was he?
And no. And,
okay.
And we're going to call your dad.
Oh my God.
You know, the one who introduced him to the sex cult.
Oh, I forgot his dad did that.
And they're like, hey, Luther, your son's acting like we owe him a lot and we did our best, but no one wants to have free love with him. And he also can't run a newspaper in New Jersey. The two things you're supposed to be able to do here.
Run a newspaper in New Jersey.
Thank you. So can you help us out? Charles Guiteau's father was so embarrassed that he wrote letters of support for Pastor Noyes and the Oneida community, basically being like, they're upstanding citizens and my son is
a delinquent,
quote, irresponsible and insane. So life is rough for Guiteau.
He's not like a bad-looking dude, which means his personality must have been
rancid.
Awful.
I know. So early life's been rough for Guiteau, marked by a complicated relationship with his father, the death of his mother, academic failure, personal failure, professional failure, sexual failure. He's the only person in a sex cult not having sex. That would haunt me.
The only reason you join a sex cult.
I don't mean to be incelly, but to be in a sex cult and to be not getting sex
when you want it,
right?
I'm assuming they appreciate asexuals. I don't know.
I want to point. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, with this story, didn't have a lot of time to get into the Oneida free love opinions on asexuals in the 1860s.
I am intrigued.
He's also, when he goes to Oneida, like 19, 20, 21. It's not, you know, the rule when it comes to nude beaches. The people who are nude are the ones you don't really want to see nude, and the people you do want to see nude are not nude.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And like, wow, what a statement about life, you know? Like, what
is it just the clothes that make them, that you want to see them nude, you know? Like,
right. Is it just like the allure of it all? But what I do know is that when Charles joins Oneida, he's a hot young 19-year-old, and they're all like, please God,
leave.
No.
That's tough.
And I think if I was allowed to join a sex cult and then no one wanted to have sex with me, I think my feelings would be hurt. Not like in a, oh, I'm ugly way, because I've done too much internal work and like, thank you, Brene Brown. But I think it would be more like, did you let me join just to bully me? Like, what's going on here? You know?
I am not kidding. I would have walked into the ocean.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah, that would have been it.
Right? Like, why would you welcome me in if literally no one wanted me to be part of the main thing we do here?
Listen, I am not a fan of sorority recruitment until moments like right now, and this is a very specific moment, but I think if you're in a sex cult, you should have sorority level recruitment.
Put that on a t-shirt.
I need Robert's Rules of Order.
A sex cult, you should have hazing, Robert's
Not
Rule of Orders.
Hazing.
No, you're right.
But Robert's Rule of Orders, everyone should have to go into a secret room where your picture gets shown up on the wall, or your like profile gets shown up on the wall, and then people have to use very specific adjectives about you if they like you or don't like
There's
you.
a crucial quota, and it's not a majority, but there does a quota that needs to be meant for people who would.
Yeah, would you?
What's going next?
Would you
What's
strongly
happening
agree,
next? Right.
sort of agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree?
Right. You need to score at least a 1.5.
Yeah. The bar is so low.
I don't think sex cults are usually
just
picky.
Need one.
You just usually have to be a woman.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's male dominated.
Yeah.
That's historically accurate about sex cults.
We really don't change,
do we?
The
tough thing about this episode is there's going to be moments where you're like, oh, that thing that Charles did, villain. That's a villain thing Charles would do. But then they'd be like, but I do get how he kind of gets there, you know? And that's not to defend him, especially those of you who know the whole story of Charles. You're like, what the fuck, Grant? Just stay with me. Okay, trust me as a storyteller. I'm here to push you. I'm here to also agree with you, but we're here to reflect on some stuff. And Charles,
he's here to be a Charles advocate, famous for his lack of advocates.
Yes, bitch. Yes. With a joke like that, it's Grant's.
Shut the fuck up. I hate that you're stealing it from me. You're never going to get over it, too. You're going to be hearing it in your head for years.
When you said today, quote, I packed my lunch or I was meal prepping, I was like, it's jelly.
See?
Okay.
Fucking everything.
Chapter 2. Early failure leads to later failure.
Oh.
Sorry. You can
womp womp.
As I got more and more tired throughout this week, the art really kind of poured out of me.
Yeah, maybe sleep deprivation is key to our best episodes.
Listen, my students who do best at competitions are so thin, is the veil between them controlled and them uncontrolled, and it's all just sleep deprivation,
I have seen one of your more successful students.
Yeah, you know the exact example I'm giving right now. Mm-hmm. So perhaps unsurprisingly, Charles is not set up for a successful adult life.
Yeah, that's fair.
He basically immediately resorts to a life of petty crime. Since he has tried to start many newspapers in his life, he turns to that industry first, where he pretends to be an ad salesman for the New York Tribune.
Oh my God.
The heist is simple. Sell ad space in the newspaper, then disappear. Even better, you were never employed by the New York Tribune. They'd be
listen now.
They'd be like, this is your sketch? Yeah, and you want it every Sunday for the next 4 weeks? We can make that happen. That'd be $5.
Quarter page, half page,
Right. Okay, thank you so much. And then you basically crumple up the ad on your way out.
They see you throwing it away and they're like,
run!
Wait a minute. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he would steal a bunch of money from people.
Being a con artist in the 1800s just sounded like such a good time.
Well, also, I'm reading this report, and I'm like, what? You really could just. Everyone had to trust each other back then because,
you can't go on TripAdvisor or Yelp.
I can't pretend to sell ad space for the New York Tribune. Now it folded, but the New York Tribune did have to put an advertisement for reals in its own paper being
saying, don't trust this man.
This man is not one of our employees. Please contact this number at this if you would like to purchase ad space. He is not working for us.
Oh my God.
And you'll see friends in the Netflix show. This is kind of one of those little fact check moments. Each chapter kind of has one. He gets the wealth that then pays for his activities in the Netflix special through stealing from his sister and brother-in-law. Might have done it, for sure, but a lot of his money in his actual life was just stolen through good old-fashioned stealing from misrepresenting, from promising and then bouncing, from eating and then dipping. Famous diner and dasher. He loved sleeping in a bed and then disappearing before they could charge him. Okay. He loved lying, and he was good at it. Except,
so does Grant.
But I've turned to a life of civil order. and wine.
And only lie now in your storytelling sometimes.
Only when everyone gets to laugh,
Yeah.
Much like Charles Guiteau.
Not in relation to our episodes. Those are heavily researched and accurate.
And like have to be like linked and stuff.
Yes.
Charles then bounces around for a couple years before landing in Chicago in 1872. He's 31 years old and no real career. He works for a law firm that helps him kind of pass like an introductory exam to the Illinois State Bar. So it's kind of like you could be like,
did he have a college degree at this point?
No.
Can you even apply to get the bar?
Well, so first off, I mean, Illinois has been a state for like 50 years at this point. Like
so
everything's new.
Sure.
And real heavy emphasis on kind of like introductory exam to where like you could maybe do some like clerk stuff. But like you're probably not like a district attorney.
More classes, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
He does represent one person in trial. They lose, and he goes, and they go to jail. I mean, not Charles, but the person he was supposed to defend.
Yeah. Can you imagine? You're so bad at your job. They
Straight
put
to jail.
you in jail.
Straight, that was a crime. That was not public defense. That was a crime. Straight to jail. Criminal incompetence.
We need that as a charge.
He mainly uses his like law education to help collect debts for businesses, to which he then does not give the money he collects.
Stop giving this man money.
Exactly. Stop putting this man in charge of collecting money.
Yeah.
He's getting pretty good at collecting money, very bad at giving it then away to the person who is owed it.
The rightful owner of the money.
It's also around this time that he meets Marion the librarian.
I thought you were going to say Mary Mallon. I was so deeply not ready for that crossover.
And Anthony Bourdain's great-grandmother, all there in a knife fight in Chicago. Mary Mallon running away from a lesbian doctor who will revolutionize syphilis and a man with no personal sense of boundary.
Unwanted by all.
Exactly. They actually met at the Oneida Sex Cult. Yeah, no, I'm kidding.
Interesting.
This is all lies. What would you like?
She spread all that typhoid there. That's where that happened. Can I go get my wine bottle? Is okay.
Absolutely. I'm having such a good time tonight that during our little like break catch up as we got settled, I almost asked you, okay, are you ready to go? What's next? And now I was like, it's my story. You have no idea what's next.
I'm like, good. Yeah.
Maya, take it away. No, but what is next? Let's go ahead and oh yes, he marries Marion the librarian.
Marion the librarian.
Also known as Annie, but like have to say it. Annie Bunn.
Why is she called Marion?
Oh, because of the musical Music Man.
I was like, so you just gave her a completely incorrect name.
Well, yeah, but I referenced something from a musical.
Yeah, I was in Music Man once when I was in elementary school, and then I proceeded to never watch it again because it was slightly traumatic. So you could tell me almost anything about that musical.
The school that I teach at for our spring musicale that was a High School Musical. Shout out to anyone who caught it. Is doing Mamma Mia.
Yes,
and I'm very excited. And we're doing this is the week that they're casting the play. So if you want my thoughts on our school's casting process for Mamma Mia, join us on Patreon. That's a direct, unskippable ad in Maine. Join us on Patreon. So they marry.
The only kind of unskippable ad that we
do. So they get married in like 1869. So like he's kind of bouncing around. He was been in upstate New York. He kind of travels a little bit. He ends up back in Chicago, which because he's from Illinois and then also lived in Wisconsin, like that makes sense. That's a natural home base. 1869, he gets married to Annie Bunn, Bunn.
Cute.
She is an actual librarian, which is where Marion the librarian comes from. Potentially had a child out of marriage earlier on.
Okay.
And thus is maybe in the eyes of society at the time
unpure and unfit for marriage.
Correct. But also then kind of a great candidate for a person who was not accepted to a sex cult and has failed in many businesses.
That's fair.
And so, it's like not to be unkind, but we all have one couple in our lives where we're like, how are they in a relationship.
And there's a good connotation and a bad connotation.
Correct.
With that. Good connotation, the couple that you don't understand why they're together on SNL's Weekend Update.
So good. With Marcelo Hernandez.
Yep.
Yes.
And then bad connotation, I don't know. You know.
Fill it in. I did walk into a room earlier this week to print something, and there was a child just kind of standing in the lap of another child as they made really intense.
Standing?
Yeah, but like maybe the chair was between. I was obviously not staring long enough to like gather intel.
Like one was sitting, one was standing. I'm picturing them like standing like feet on thighs.
Just so intense eye contact. I was like, this feels more vulnerable than if you guys were just making out. Like this feels uncomfortable to be in the room of.
I don't like that.
I don't know if we're going to keep that part in. I think that would have just been on my heart.
When I was a freshman, I was dating that senior, and we would meet up at some points and just like make out in the hallway. And I think about that time a lot. That was a weird time for me. Did I get that far away look in my eyes that he did?
It's just as close as you gotten to regret, probably. Yeah, probably regret. Like, is that kind of what I sound?
I feel fine about it.
And you were in a school of 2,000 people as children tried to get to math.
No, it was while class was in session.
That's not better.
We were both usually on our free period.
It's important to me that you know that that's not better.
We weren't supposed to be in class. God, Grant.
What am I trying to say? Oh, this is great. Okay. So his wife, Annie, is 8 years younger than Charles. In her early 20s, life is not easy, mainly because Charles is such a loser. Like, socially, he's a loser. He has no career, several crimes to his name, came from no great family, and has a really complicated relationship with the family that he does have. He has no kids. He's not a leader in his community, and absolutely had this like grand vision of himself that was very American during the 1860s and 70s, but that could at times like rub people the wrong way, and especially would now. Like Charles Guiteau was very much like, I am going to be a great man. Like I am going to be a great person, and hadn't yet once in his life done something good, let alone great. It's
so funny to me because men are like that. And then women are like, I'm going to do everything I can for everyone I love and for myself. And I don't think I'm changing the world or society. Right. And then like 100 years later, we do an episode on Mary Shelley.
Right.
Crazy shit like that. And then men are like, I am perfect. I am God's gift to this earth. And then Maya is depressed.
Thank you.
You needed to listen to the listener episode from last week to get that.
But you can almost forgive people. Mm-hmm. Men especially, you could almost forgive men at the time for having that assumption about themselves because the Civil War has just ended. So your society is full of like upwards of 3 million war heroes. Mm-hmm. You have in the American Midwest, West, and West Coast, admittedly, we are committing war crimes. It's not viewed that way, but we're committing war crimes.
We're still on our manifest destiny bullshit.
Right. So there are people out there who are hunting and killing bears, who are prosecuting war crimes against like indigenous tribes, right? Who are building dams, striking at rich and silver mines. Like there are men in the newspaper who went out there with nothing and then really made something of themselves. Yeah. And while that was true for very, very few men, there are also a lot of people who are moving from their like stuck and plain lives in the East and setting up towns and setting up communities. And even if they don't strike gold mine rich, like they have a grocery store or they have greater economic mobility and are important to a community than they would have been out East.
Or they're dying of dysentery, but they don't think that'll be them.
Right.
You know?
No, it's my capacity building speech. No one ever thinks they're the one that's going to, whatever.
Die of dysentery.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So while his greatness would come across as like shockingly unhumble finance tech bro today, his like I will be a great man is normal. More in the vernacular. Okay. But just because other men are becoming great doesn't mean when you see a person that's never accomplished anything and is like kind of a social, political, professional, and sexual outcast, like you're not like
the list just kept going.
I did a lot of research on Charles Guiteau. I don't know what to tell you. I also keep
social and political and sexual outcasts.
Politically, personally.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Familially. Also, like, I keep almost saying Charles de Gaulle, which is a famous French general from World War II, and not the theme of tonight's episode. So thanks for sticking with me through that, too.
Yeah.
So marriage is tough.
Yeah.
Marriage is tough for Annie.
Tough for Annie, yeah.
But why was Charles such a loser? Now, here is where I get as close as I get to being a Charles Guiteau defender. So, again, for those of you who know the whole story to Charles, just sit and listen. I'm not asking that your mind be changed afterwards, but I am asking us to be big in our thinking.
Oh, my God.
There is always a number of contributing factors when it comes to notable people like this. A childhood we would recognize today as pretty traumatic, both for the loss of his mother and the way that his father treated him and the rapid abandonment of his siblings, right? An abusive, perhaps even physically abusive father that radically shaped his perception of the world in negative ways and also probably shaped his perception of his own self-worth.
Okay.
He also didn't fight in the Civil War.
Oh,
right.
Well, did he have bone spurs?
No. And so this is actually what's so interesting and funny. And oh gosh, the way I could just talk about the Civil War forever. I mean, there's a reason why it's the most written about conflict in American history.
Did we fight in that? Was that American?
In the American South, almost every single white man held a gun for the Confederacy at one point because they had so few people already, and then half the people they had, they enslaved.
Ooh.
In the North, there was millions of men at the North's disposal. There were some regiments, especially from states like Minnesota and Michigan or like Maine and Rhode Island. There were some regiments that were essentially commissioned to like guard a fort in Lake Michigan or like a fort on the Boston Harbor who served the entire war and never once fired their gun in conflict.
Damn.
And so when you have millions of men that aren't even actively engaged, you have millions more men who haven't even been drafted yet, right? So Charles Guiteau doesn't get drafted, which isn't necessarily unheard of. And
Is he in the minority, though, technically?
For having not being drafted?
Yeah.
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
There were very unpopular drafts, for sure, that disproportionately targeted poor people, for sure.
I have no idea why they would do that.
And the fact that
being sarcastic,
there's an episode I can hit you with it.
What?
Let's burn our bras and our draft cards. And
promise.
Was that this spring when I did that? I think so. Sure.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
Praise Day.
In the summer. Yeah.
It's like targeting poor people. People are going off to war that don't want to go to war, but it's not everybody.
Yeah.
Like there are white men, and also the fact that Charles keeps bouncing from town to town, like also can't hurt. The fact that the draft office can't track him down.
That's fair.
Like he had an abusive childhood, and then right as he entered adulthood at age 18, he's not volunteering for the military. He's not volunteering for the Civil War. But when that war ends, when he's 24, so many men his age fought in that war and come home with war stories, or even if they didn't really have any war stories, come home with the uniform, come home with the medal, come home with this sense of like valor,
Yeah.
A sense of valor, sense of purpose, sense of community pride, community itself. Like they have their former veterans and stuff like that. Charles doesn't have that. And so he's aware now also at such a young age, for a man that's determined to be filled with glory and important, that the moment for him to be that might have already passed because he was a coward. I mean, and coward's such a tough word there. But
do you think he knows that? Or is this just like
I think he sees
in
men
hindsight?
It feels in many ways almost like Instagram today, where it's like, I'm happy with what I'm doing, but that person did that and has this.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so complicated childhood, perhaps missed his opportunity for glory, potentially wholly 100% just a diagnosed narcissist. Like there's an option there.
Diagnosed narcissist?
You can diagnose someone with like narcissism.
Yeah, but
right.
Was
he is not.
Oh,
no.
okay.
But like I don't think we were diagnosing that at the time.
That's fair. That's also.
And now here comes
fair.
like some more French theories as to like why Charles Guiteau was such a loser.
French theories.
Fringe.
Okay, it's like we're really hitting some of these crazy fucking topics. What the fuck is a French theory?
Well, do you know what phimosis is? phimosis.
No.
So doctors diagnosed him with phimosis, which is a condition Plus 30 seconds now for discussion of men genitalia. Plus 30 seconds now.
Skip. I'm going to skip.
Phimosis is when the foreskin is tight enough around the head of a penis that when you get an erection, the penis can't actually move out of the foreskin and makes all erections incredibly painful.
So I'm learning why he wasn't popular at the sex cult.
It's something that obviously can be cured with like circumcision and is incredibly rare. But also that tightness then also produces pretty regular infections because it makes it especially difficult to clean or anything. So could have also been a loser because he is deeply sexually frustrated, and any time he then acts on it, it causes painful. Him intense pain.
Okay.
And while not a justification for what he will do later in his life, or for being so weird at the time, like I get him being in a bad mood also, you know, like humans are humans, you know. And then finally, there is a chance that he might have had syphilis, and that might have wrecked, and by a chance, I mean, it didn't pop up in all sources, but okay, so there's a chance he might have had syphilis. He might have gotten that syphilis from a sex worker. He might have intentionally gotten He might have intentionally gotten syphilis from the sex worker or just intentionally gotten the sex worker. I don't know where the intentionality was.
My worst nightmare is being covered in a podcast episode and then someone say it wasn't in all sources.
But with Charles Guiteau especially, I'm unsure if the syphilis thing wasn't in all episodes because it wasn't true, or because he will do other things that warrant a lot of airtime, and syphilis just doesn't make the list. I do believe after his death, an autopsy confirms he had like syphilis meningitis or whatever that was maybe dissolving and or thickening the back of his skull. Also,
I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh, yeah. Syphilis will absolutely fuck up your spinal cord and brain. It's actually why we can tell historical figures who had syphilis, because it leaves a permanent mark on your bones. Because all your organic tissue's gone. Crazy. And it'll be like, syphilis. That's a syphilis brain. That's a syphilis brain right there.
Grant recognizing snakes.
And that's the curse of my history degree. I see one picture, I don't know shit fuck about neurology, and I'm like, that's syphilis. I don't, who was his ex-partners? Because they all had syphilis. I'm Control F, SYP. There it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it SIS or SYS?
Enter. Okay, here we go. Okay. Yep, syphilis. Yeah, okay, it was syphilis. Yeah, that's why this person was crazy. Because he had an infection of the brain and then he died. And which is why always get tested, because if you don't get tested, you can't treat syphilis, and then you can get an infection of the brain and die. Otherwise, you can just have some antibiotics for a couple of days and a really saucy story to tell at brunch.
And here's my biannual or fucking whatever reminder to make an appointment with your PCP. If you don't know what PCP stand for, definitely need to make an appointment with your PCP.
Make sure they're in network, though. It's a hell of a bill to get if you weren't expecting it. So could be a narcissist, could have syphilis, could have just been a loser who missed his chance for glory and was abused by his parents. Could be, unfortunately, a royal flush in all 5 of those things.
Oh, that's so sad.
I know. There is a world where it's all of those things, and that's what produces this person. And so, listener, for those of you who know the full Charles Guiteau story, I ask you now, does knowing the fact that this person was abused potentially by their parents, sought greatness, and felt at an early age they had missed their chance, tried to do right, couldn't, felt sexually frustrated in the one area he was supposed to be able to perform in, and when he did do that, gave him a brain infection. Does that change our perception about him? I'm telling you right now, I don't know if it changes my own perception of him. But I know for a fact it fills in a person who can at times be viewed as a caricature. And I'm always appreciative of that context, even if it doesn't change my opinion. So just something to think about.
Yeah.
I'm drunk right now. That was so clear. That I was like, I kind of get in that zone.
I'm keeping that in. That was incredible. That timing, it was like a solid couple seconds, and you turned to me and you're like, I'm drunk right now.
But you know when quarterbacks get in the zone and like everything else goes quiet
I know
and they can
nothing
just
about
see
quarterbacks.
the secondary? That's how I felt
What
there
the
in that
fuck
moment.
is the secondary?
I don't even know where I would start.
Okay, so stop using sports terms.
There's a thing called a linebacker, and before you ask, yes, they are my type.
I don't know. You seem more like you enjoy a tight end, but
Okay, funny. Okay, also heard that before. Linebacker, 6'5" and as tall as they are wide.
I was gonna say I don't think that's your type.
Huge.
You want to throw other people around. You don't want to be
sometimes
thrown around.
I want to be the person that makes soup and then doesn't have to worry about anything.
You want to wear a tight little skirt and a short little apron.
I want someone who makes more money than me and thinks I'm brilliant.
Same.
And I think that's what we all want.
I mean, that is the American dream.
Like someone
in many ways, we are all Charles.
They're making more money, but I'm bringing the heat to the relationship, you know?
I don't know if I would bring the heat, low libido on antidepressants and stuff. I'm sure I'm bringing something. I haven't quite figured out what yet.
You're depressed. Just like my best friend.
I like that they put it first before your God's gift to Earth.
Every time I get a huge compliment like that, I forget that is always how it's structured.
It's so funny.
They get your compliment in first, and then they just blow the doors open for mine.
It does make me feel seen and appreciated, and so it actually does not bother me really at all because I know that that's not what they mean.
No, I do
It's just
too.
so funny to me that is then the perception that they give because in truth, I just want to be seen. Grant wants to be worshipped.
I'm sorry, how many effigies were you given of yourself this week? Because I got 3.
I would like any, actually. Tell your students if they need a new muse. I'm open.
Chapter whatever. New York, where dreams come true. In
Sure.
1872, Charles and his wife Annie moved to New York. Things are not going well in the world after only 2 years of marriage. Annie's all like, I want a divorce from you. This is a miserable experience.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because by some reports, Charles is potentially abusive.
Yeah, I can see that.
Which is unexcusable.
Generational trauma, it happens.
How he saw relationships in his own life.
Yep.
Sexual frustration, also potentially just narcissistic or some other mental disorder.
Therapy was not really a thing.
Just a man who's not interested in unpacking his own, power in that situation. But anyways, he's like, Annie, I love you enough to divorce you. But remember, it's 1872. So they can't just skip on down and get a divorce. So
Right.
Charles hires a sex worker. That sex worker then testifies, yes, I had sex with Charles, thus proving infidelity.
Oh, because it has to be infidelity. I forgot we're
and
in
then
like
the
the Gilded
church
Age.
granted Annie her divorce.
When did the Gilded Age start?
It's like you're in the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Like this
I'm
story
very bad at that.
The story is going to really crest around 1880, which
Okay,
is like
so perfect
100%
Gilded Age.
the
Okay,
Gilded
yeah,
Age.
yeah.
And so that's potentially when he got syphilis, and also might have given it to Annie, although I don't think so. But
Okay.
I think what you are looking at in this telling is like one of the few physically intimate interactions of his entire life is to help divorce his own wife.
To let his wife divorce him. Because I think
Correct.
if he's the one that's not honest in the marriage, she has to be the one to file.
Right. And so that's also now then really complicated.
Learned from the Gilded Age.
Yeah.
On HBO.
But also like maybe he's awful, maybe he's abusive. Like
Yeah.
that can be
Yeah.
true. And also
Two things can be true at the same time.
gets syphilis, intentionally cheating on his wife so
Mm-hmm.
she can get the divorce she asked for and he can be at fault for it, Also
Yeah.
complicated.
Yeah.
Not trying to vindicate him by any
No.
means, but like more than just like the 3 facts you know at dinner parties about Charles Guiteau.
Yeah.
New York is, by and large, start to finish, an absolute disaster for him. His marriage dissolves there. He immediately commits fraud and is then charged with committing fraud. He's found guilty of that fraud, ordered to pay back that fraud, runs back to Illinois instead because he can't afford to pay for the
that
fraud. I wrote the fraud accidentally into 2 sentences, and I was like, well,
this
now
is
there's
a good
theme.
bit. I think we could use a joke here.
Exactly. A kid walked into my class today, and I was like, is that a spindrift? And the kid goes, yeah, I didn't steal it from like the stuff because we're stealing whatever's left from the concession. She goes, yeah, I didn't steal it. Like I brought it from home. I go, no, I know. But like you have a spindrift. And she goes, Thomas, I don't know. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what's going on. And I'm like, that's fair. I don't know if I'm executing anything either. But then like several more times over that next hour, a kid would be like, anyone see anything? I go, no, and I can't find a spindrift either. Thank you, right? Every single time. And then eventually the kids are like, is this that rhetorical device, rule of threes? And that was them being like, is this now done? You've done it 3 times. Are you done?
That's so funny. They're using your own knowledge against you.
They're very clever. I'm very proud of what they have read. So he runs back to Illinois. He decides to write a book.
I'm sorry.
Illinois.
You just said Illinois. Okay. I just needed to clock that.
Illinois.
Yep.
Charles.
Don't act like you didn't know that.
I will act.
All right, fair enough. I have no counter to that, so that's fine.
Charles Guiteau's like, I really do need some money, though. So he writes a book on religion, and it's called The Truth, which is word for word plagiarism from Preacher Noise's book, the one who founded the Oneida community.
That's my favorite kind of fraud. Just fully, unapologetically plagiarize.
He was the first person to use ChatGPT. It's actually really interesting.
And then be really frustrated when it can't swap certain words out.
No, the author's name isn't Noise. It's Guiteau.
Me. And then it like writes an entirely different book.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
By late 1875, Guiteau's father had become convinced that his son was possessed by Satan. But I mean, who hasn't been accused of being possessed by Satan? But that accusation is ironic because Guiteau himself is becoming increasingly convinced that his actions are divinely inspired.
Oh.
And that his destiny was to, quote, preach a new gospel like Paul the Apostle.
Because he's experienced so much success up until now.
Correct. Okay. Much like Jesus. In July 1877.
You know who else faced political, social, and sexual persecution?
There's an acoustic guitar, open-toed sandals, and an age gap relationship. It's your youth minister.
Jesus. We haven't done that bit in a while.
That age gap relationship, by the way, so crucial to finish off that parody.
It feels like a parasocial relationship.
A 23-year-old must be dating a 16-year-old girl, quote, in his flock, and the 16-year-old girl's family must be thrilled about that. Must not see any problem at all for it.
He's a godly man.
100%. That person is going to have a come to Jesus moment in Las Vegas in her 40s. And I can't wait for that for you, Colleen.
What?
Moving on.
What?
You know what I'm talking about, though.
No, I don't.
There's heavy truth in what I said.
Okay.
Heavy with the truth.
Okay.
It's tough.
Listener, do you also feel like he's talking as if I should know what he's talking about? Because I don't. Continue yours.
I just feel like we are here but for a moment, and sometimes we'll realize that, like, in
1870,
yes, I can't even finish my own bits. In July 1877, he is arrested for fraud. Accused of collecting over $3,000 on accounts due to several Chicago businesses and then just keeping the $3,000 for himself.
Oh.
Which, by the way, in 1860, $1,000 is like $34,000 today.
Yeah.
So obviously there's going to be like a bit of inflation, but this guy's probably in line of like modern day $80,000 to $90,000 in stolen debts from these businesses. That's not a small amount.
No, that's probably enough to do some real damage.
Yeah. And then I put my own little side note here. Side note, grifters love turning to the voice of God because you don't really have to actually produce a singular product. And your boss, a.k.a. the big man, a.k.a. Jesus, famously hasn't come down to earth in 2,000 years. And that's if you prescribe to Christian religion.
That is never been applicable ever in my life and ever in this current political environment. Never, ever has anyone part of a religious organization has said God willed it and then provided no other explanation and then continued to commit war crimes.
This is what I wrote literally in my notes. It is very much like how a bunch of failed, gross, conservative hucksters now try to sell essentially snake oil bullshit products on Fox News these days. Like,
I'm sorry, there's a Trump Bible out there.
Yeah. It's just so funny how quickly men who've never wiped their own ass are then accused of some horrific societal crime and then find Jesus and sell protein powder and talk about their challenge. After Guiteau is released from Chicago jail, he began to wander from town to town, speaking and preaching. He was arrested again in 1877.
Oh my God, classic.
Accused of failing to pay for his room and board while in Ann Arbor to give a lecture. Locations where Guiteau spoke included Boston and Springfield, Massachusetts, Providence, Rhode Island, and Madison, Wisconsin.
Okay.
He also managed to make it to Buffalo, New York, Jersey City, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Davenport, Iowa, and Washington, D.C. I wish I could be like, wow, he really got around, but he's absolutely just running from bills. Like he is absolutely like, I got to get out of here.
I actually have to leave because now I have spread around pamphlets with my name, and so the police are actually going to find me.
I ate for 3 nights at a hotel. Didn't pay that bill.
Nope.
You'll see that several times on when you watch the Netflix show. He'll eat at like fancy hotel restaurants. And in the Netflix show, he pays for it with the money he stole from his brother-in-law and his sister. That's kind of just in the show shorthand for all the money he is stealing from everyone he's ever interacted with. Oh. And so he's not afraid to spend money he doesn't have. He is afraid.
Good. I mean, as we all should be,
you
know?
So he gets around. He gets around because there is no home for him to go to. He gets around because he believes he's a preacher. He gets around because he believes the public needs to hear his message. Notably, as he travels, very few of the public hear his message because his lectures are not well attended. And a summary from one historical source about reviews from local papers after he passed through, not only were his lectures not well attended, they were also not well reviewed.
You got to learn the few things from Ron Dante.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
It's also fascinating because it's like, wow, this man for his entire life, loser. Like just loser.
That's tough.
Weird loser. Like
even the confidence is not helping him. And like historically, confidence has enabled men forever.
Like such a loser, you're like something has to be in the stew. You know, like something has to be there. But then at the same time, it like excuses the actions he's about to do. And like that's not actions you want to like excuse. And also those are not necessarily actions you want to put on people who share those identity markers today, right? You don't want to be like, oh, well, like maybe he was socially awkward and on the autism spectrum, but it's like there's a bunch of autistic people who are never going to do what he does.
Do that, yeah.
You know, or even half the stuff he already has done.
You can always make excuses for people, but you also still need, especially in this time frame, you also need to acknowledge that there is a chance that that's not the case.
Right. We're now we're over the hill, not under it, in terms of the story. We're getting to some of these chapters that are now going to start to speed up as things go quicker and quicker.
Well, you have also not still said the name of the Netflix show, so I am increasingly wary.
Right. We can still make fun of Charles Guiteau, but I'd say around this time we got to stop rooting for him.
I was never rooting for him. He's a man.
He's been peculiar up to this moment, and now he is entering what we and the U.S. federal government would call his villain era.
Oh, okay.
Chapter.
I can see it though. You know, like I get it. I get why he became a villain.
Yeah, I can too.
Yeah.
But this next chapter is going to really also then shed some light into that too. I tried hard to push your guys' assumptions in this story. Third to final chapter, so chapter whatever number, politics.
Okay.
A job for gentlemen.
Oh, fucking hell.
In 1880, Charles Guiteau survives the sinking of a transport ship in Boston Harbor.
I know we're not in that time frame. I was so ready for you to say Titanic.
No, he's not on the Titanic.
No, I was, yeah. Okay.
And by survives a sinking, I of course do mean was on a ship that was totally fine and perfectly safe, but across the harbor from a ship that did catch fire and sink.
Oh, so not at all surviving a ship that sank.
Maya, the message could not be more clear. God has saved him for a special purpose. Not even joking. He sees a boat sink in the same body of water he's in, and he's like, Thank you, God,
that was
for
for
saving me.
Yes. That was for me.
Yes.
Not anyone that died, not anyone that was injured, not anyone else on the boat that I'm on.
55 people will die on that boat because it catches fire and then sinks in the pitch black at a time when no one knows how to swim. So people will die. Not him, though, because he was, again, on a boat that was perfectly
That did
safe.
not sink. That's good. That's good. I'm glad.
God has saved him for a special purpose. And that special purpose, of course, is politics.
Oh my God, no. This is how we got Chuck Schumer, isn't it? That's this guy's real name?
You would be shocked because his name's Charles. That's funny.
Chuck Schumer is like 1 billion years old and needs to retire.
Specifically, Charles Guiteau begins attempting to help elect corrupt politicians known as stalwarts. So, naturally, he starts working as a Republican political operative.
I want to be happy that it's not my camp, but then I remember that Republicans were our camp.
Yes, girl, from our episode a year ago, whatever, on political history of the U.S. There it is.
I hate it here. We did shout out that particular episode in episode 1 or 2 of People of Agency.
Fun. Oh,
Aileen
fun.
talks about it because we talk about Republicans and Democrats, and she's like, and by the way, also when we say Republicans, that's not what you're thinking right now. Yeah.
So Charles Guiteau was a big fan of the Republican presidential candidate and member of the stalwart STALWART, stalwart wing of the Republican Party. The nominee for that wing of the Republican Party in 1880 was former President Ulysses S. Grant. I will just be using the word Grant and President Grant for the rest of this episode. But it was Ulysses was his first name. Well, actually, it was his middle name, but that's a book I read over the summer, and I'm not going to get into it right now.
Grant just wants to hear the words President Grant because now he's started this podcast and his political career is over.
Yeah, 100%.
In terms of the federal government.
I mean, I could probably really mess up some local city zoning, but
at some point I am going to run for city council.
Good.
I've accepted it. I think there's 4 positions on our city council.
I'm actually so excited for that future for you.
Yeah, thank you.
So the stalwarts in the Republican Party were a wing in the Republican Party also who were a believer of a system that we call today the spoils system. So it's really simple. I'm President Grant. I'm running for office. Maya, you give me $10,000. Would you like to be ambassador to France? Amazing. I'm running for president. I'm President Grant. I've already given away an ambassador to France. But the senator from Virginia can help me win Virginia. And in exchange, I will make sure the entire Treasury Department is hired full of his incompetent sons and his friends from college. And I will have won the election. So it's the spoil system in the sense of because I'm in charge of the federal government, once I win, I can do whatever the fuck I want.
It doesn't matter what I told you behind closed doors.
Right. And the really interesting thing about the Republican Party at this time in 1880, is that where I'm at? Is that where I'm at in this story?
I love when he asks me that as if I know.
I kind of am. Yeah. Okay. I can say it now. So the really interesting thing about the Republican Party at this time is that they have been in power now for 20 years. 1860, Lincoln is elected. 1864, Lincoln is reelected and then assassinated.
Right.
1868, President Grant runs and wins. 1872, Grant runs again and wins re-election. 1876, Republican Rutherford B. Hayes runs.
Right.
Ends Reconstruction, but manages to win as a bigger deal with the Democrats. Right. And then now is the election of 1880. So they have ripped off 5 elections in a row that Republicans have been in control. And that's not an issue because of their politics. It is an issue because being in power for 2 decades has corrupted them.
Oh.
But it's this party that's really interesting because half the party now wants political favors. In order for their support, they just view it as a money grabbing thing.
Oh, yeah.
But the other half of the political party is we freed enslaved Black Americans and need to do so much more work. And in order to get that work done, we have to be in power. So what you see is this push and pull between the politicians who want to do good work, but need to be elected to do that good work, and thus need then the other half of the operation that can fully just purchase a state. But their presence in your political party obviously corrupts your systems and your principles and your values and your morals.
Our political system is fucked.
Yeah, honestly, there's actually so many comparisons. It's not the theme of today's episode, but for a little bit, I thought about just comparing 1880 to 2025. Yeah, and like just talking about how similar it is. Charles Guiteau is a big fan of the stalwarts. Okay. He's like, spoil system for days, let's go team. And that's what's really interesting about Charles Guiteau, and is now a feature that I think we need to kind of unravel as we think about him. Is this man clinically insane because he believes he is a messenger of God who saved him from a ship that was not sinking to spread his message? Or is he like at least a semi-serious, calculating man who wants to protect a system in which he can get a job that he is not qualified for?
Neither of them are good.
Neither of them are great. What would actually be best is if he had a place he could go to get help and wasn't around power. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, well, he just wants this hero complex so bad that he's looking for any way to feel important.
Right.
And he's not looking to find that importance in himself. He wants the world to give it to him.
Though it's less important for him to have power as it is for the world to perceive him as great.
Yes.
You have cued on the exact right stuff.
I'm so glad. I'm 2 glasses of wine in.
Good.
So that's good.
Cheers to you too, bitch. So...
All right.
So I'm going to press forward on some of the more interesting political machinations because while I think they're interesting, they're not actually overall great for storytelling or like pushing the plot forward.
Yeah.
Essentially, the Republican nomination of 1880 happens. Okay. The Republican Party is split between Senator Joseph Blaine, who represents this like progressive rights for Black Americans wing of the Republican Party, and former President Ulysses S. Grant, who's taken a term off and is now running for a 3rd term.
Oh, right.
It just wouldn't be consecutive.
Right.
And neither candidate is winning a majority. And then this congressman from Ohio steps forward and gives this gorgeous speech about Ohio Governor John Sherman, who's the younger brother of like famous Tecumseh Sherman, like a famous Civil War general.
Yeah.
This Ohio congressperson gives this incredible speech about John Sherman, and everyone thinks John Sherman is plainer than a plank of wood, but they think this congressman is really interesting. And what starts as like a backdoor movement gathers into this compromise candidate because he does not emerge initially even as a candidate for himself.
Yeah.
And it's hard to pin down which of the 2 wings he belongs to. And so he ends up as this compromise candidate, and James Garfield wins the nomination for president. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Share your thoughts.
Aileen and I are recording an episode tomorrow, and I got this text from her this morning. She's been emailing back and forth with of the United States Postal Service. He's honestly like an icon. Like, he's written all of these crazy research papers. Anyway, I don't know the script yet. Like, I've breezed through the cold open, and that's about it. This is the only sentence in this email. I really admire the way you use the assassination of Garfield to pull listeners into the topic of civil service reform and make it so interesting. Kudos. That's the whole email.
So what do you know about James Garfield?
I know nothing because I didn't read the whole script yet.
Amazing. Okay. Great news for us. James Garfield emerges as this compromise candidate between these 2 wings of the Republican Party. Guiteau's not thrilled with that. Charles Guiteau wrote a speech titled Grant over Hancock, who's going to be the Democratic nominee. We're going to get there in a second.
Did like 3 people listen to the speech?
Well, no one really listened to the speech,
cool.
But that's okay because then once Garfield won, he changed it from Garfield beats Hancock or whatever to just Garfield, like Grant beats Hancock to Garfield beats Hancock. That makes sense?
Yeah, okay.
He only changed the name. So he'd be like, and
he plagiarized himself.
Yes. And so he'd be like, and so when James Garfield marched to Appomattox Courthouse to accept Robert E. Lee's surrender, the hero of the Civil War delivered liberty and prosperity. Like, absolutely career bangers for President Grant. And he's just
absolutely being attributed to Garfield.
That's why I'm voting for the Ohio congressman who was sickened with dysentery during the war. James Garfield.
That's incredible. So Garfield didn't fight in the war?
He did, but got sick, did some service, gets elected to Congress pretty quickly afterwards, but is like kind of a backbencher. He's like he's very much like humble farmer, Ohio Republican. Yeah. In many ways, you will see gives Lincoln energy. And so second to last chapter, right? Am I right? Ish? No, but yes, kind of. Things are just speeding up. Okay. The first couple chapters covered decades. These last two chapters cover like a year and a half.
Days, yeah.
Election of 1880. Okay. Very complicated election. James Garfield became the Republican presidential nominee without really wanting it, and thus didn't really campaign to become president. He is famous.
That's Grant and I's dream, by the way. I never want to campaign. I do want to win, though, you know?
I don't want to work hard. I just want to have all of the fun.
I also don't actually think I want to work hard or have the position, but I do want to win.
James Garfield conducts what history knows as the front porch campaign, where he sat on his front porch on his farm in rural Ohio and ran for president from there. Essentially sat in a rocker next to Lucretia Garfield, his wife.
Lucretia is an incredible name for his wife.
Her nickname was Creed.
Oh.
I know. That's what he called her. Oh, you're not ready for these last couple chapters.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry.
And I feel real ready for tomorrow's episode.
Or are we? Oh, right, that one.
The other podcast. You had some anxiety. You wanted soup night.
Lord, I've seen what you've done for others.
Soup and nap night is coming for you.
That's not true. Nebraska volleyball plays at like 7.
Oh, okay.
So, the election of 1880 is really complicated because Reconstruction has at this point kind of officially ended in the South. So what does that mean? In most Southern states, white men specifically, but just the at-large white community is using political violence to stop black people from voting. So like something that surprises people at this time is Mississippi had a black senator. South Carolina had 2 black senators. And they are members of...
We were seeing black power.
Correct. And they are members of the Republican Party.
Yep.
But with the removal of federal troops from the South, there's then no one to protect them. And so this election of 1880 is going to be really, really complicated. Over 9 million votes are going to get cast. James Garfield is going to win the popular vote by less than 2,000 votes.
Ooh.
But it's important to remember that in several Southern states, his supporters basically weren't allowed to vote. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
But what's also really interesting for Southern voters is the vote options they are given during this election.
Oh.
There's Republican farmer and congressman James Garfield, who is a strong advocate for black equality. That's the Republican candidate. The Democratic candidate is Civil War general and hero of Gettysburg, Winfield Scott Hancock. So these white Confederates, because a massive portion of the Southern electorate at this time are just former Confederate soldiers, because women can't vote.
Right.
Their options are plain-spoken, somewhat impoverished farmer who cares about black people, or the general that commanded the death of your brothers and uncles and sons. And that's who they vote for.
They vote for the
general because they believe he's less supportive of black people than the poor farmer. It's always about race.
We really are here just but for a moment.
And that moment has lasted 150 fucking years in American history.
Is not fucking over.
But you see what I'm saying? Yeah. Like they vote for a hero of the Civil War, not for their side.
Yeah.
And he almost wins.
Oh my God.
James Garfield delivers only one speech in his entire campaign.
Yeah.
It's in August after a young black man is attacked, and he delivers this to a crowd of Union veterans at Madison Square Garden in New York. I'm not going to read all of it, but I think this little excerpt helps explain James Garfield's politics in a way that you'll be able to better understand the context of. And I quote, "Another thing we will remember our allies who fought with us. Soon after the great struggle began, we looked behind the army of white rebels and saw 4 million of black people condemned to toil as slaves for our enemies. And we found that the hearts of these 4 million were God-inspired with the spirit of liberty. We have seen the white man betray the flag and fight to kill the Union. But in all that long, dreary war, we never saw a traitor in a black skin. Our comrades escaping from the starvation of prison, fleeing to our lines by the light of the North Star, never feared to enter the black man's cabin and ask for bread. And now that we have made them free, so long as we live, we will stand by these black allies. We will stand by them until the sun of liberty, fixed in the firmament of our Constitution, shall shine the equal ray upon every man, black or white, throughout the Union. Fellow citizens, fellow soldiers, in this there is the beneficence of eternal justice, and by it we will stand forever. A poet once said that an individual life will rise on the stepping stones of our dead selves to higher things, and the Republic rises on the glorious achievements of its dead and living heroes to a higher and nobler national life. He gives one speech in his entire campaign.
And it's like pretty close to recognizing systematic racism.
It's like dead on, yes, that, but also even more so like, I don't give a shit that it's 1880.
Yeah.
We owe a debt to Black Americans still. It's the only speech he gives. He's on record saying, I'd rather lose and be publicly for you than win and be publicly against, and win and be privately for you. He's like, I am gonna go to bat for you. Like, this is me, you know? The corrupt wing, the stalwarts, view him as pliable because he basically has no power players of his own that he's trying to bring along with him. So they think they can get his guy in. And the progressive wing of the Republican Party, which feels like an oxymoron to say right now.
Yes, it feels deeply upsetting, actually.
Sees him as almost more radical on the issues of racial justice than Abraham Lincoln was. The man who passed the Emancipation Proclamation and whose legacy of like several constitutional amendments to enshrine racial justice in our Constitution was like, and obviously still is, a huge source of pride for the Republican Party. So naturally, it was a close election.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I already tell you that President James Garfield wins. I tell you that he wins by less than 2,000 votes. And we can thank Charles Guiteau for that reason. Mm-hmm. I'm joking. Unless, of course, you're Charles Guiteau, for whom you believe solely you have won the election for James Garfield. And now, as a believer of the spoils system, you believe James Garfield owes you, Charles Guiteau, a job.
Oh my God.
Second to final chapter, A Time to Govern. President James Garfield put together a crack team of people that, shockingly, didn't include a random preacher who had way too many warrants in way too many states to ever hold a federal office.
And was a failure in terms of political, sexual, social, personal, familial.
Vibe.
Yeah. Vibe checks. Criminal.
That didn't stop Charles from continuing to approach and ask President Garfield for a job. Like, he literally walked into the White House, was like, I'm here to see the president. And they were like, what?
What?
And he was like, yeah, see me and all these other people, these job seekers. Because, by the way, that's how you applied for a job. Your family paid for a month-long hotel stay for you in Washington, D.C.
And you just like showed up and
every day at the White House until they gave you a position in one of the departments. There's no internet. There's no phoning really or anything. It's not like they kept a huge pile of applicants. If you wanted to work in one of the D.C. administrative offices, you basically just had to move to D.C. until they put you into one.
Like, I want to complain that like that just created a system ripe for corruption, but also how else? You know, like, that's crazy.
Right. Garfield was obviously busy doing things he had dreamed of doing and was elected for, right? A couple of things that Garfield won't get credit for because, as you pointed out earlier, he gets assassinated.
Yeah.
But Garfield will start doing initial conversations around a national school system. He's like, there should be a national school system that helps push education, that's funded by the federal government, and that we need to do this to make sure Black Americans are not the permanent peasant class of America.
It just really makes you think, like, back then he was considered like hella radical for the progressives. Like, who is that person right now?
Right.
And if that person is Bernie Sanders and soup, I'm going to lose my mind. Like, in a good way. But like the Bernie 2016 stickers Was that 2016?
Yeah.
Yeah, give me trauma.
I was teaching in 2016. Yes,
that was my first election that I voted in.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, and then I found out a lot of people that I had started associating with in college voted for Trump.
Yep.
Because they ran through all of the dorm rooms with like a bottle of vodka screaming and celebrating. And one of them was like a white presenting Hispanic man. And I was like,
I would have been moved to violence over the running through my hallway with vodka.
yeah, I think Brittany and I closed her door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's pushing a national education system. He's also appointing black members of Congress to high-level ranking positions in the Department of Treasury and elsewhere. In the Netflix show, Death by Lightning is the name of the Netflix show. There's this really cool moment between James Garfield and one of the black Republican senators. And he goes, I was born a slave, and now every dollar bill printed in America will have my signature on it.
Oh.
I know. It's this really wonderful moment where he's like, this is my duty, is to advance this. And what's important, too, to remember is that James Garfield comes from Ohio, a state that never really had enslavement. But he feels morally crystal clear on this issue and raises children that see things morally kind of black and white. It doesn't matter if it's challenging, difficult, or not politically expedient. Either you have morals that you are willing to argue for, or you don't. And moments where you are challenged are moments God is pushing you to your commitment to this idea of justice for all of his creations. And if you fail him in that moment for your own personal gain, you have failed him.
Like,
this is why I do so many like historical episodes. I feel like it's just, there's the comfort of the past.
It's comforting to know that these viewpoints existed in a time where there are so many other problematic viewpoints.
Right.
But also, like, it's been over 100 years. What do you mean we're still talking about this? What do you mean we still don't? Like, do we have any black cabinet members right now? I don't know. I don't know the cabinet well enough, to be honest.
I avoided a lot of that confirmation hearing, but I'm almost positive we don't, because the last Republican black member of a cabinet was Dr. Ben Carson, who was head of HUD, and I don't believe he's still in power anymore.
No, I don't think he is either.
Could be wrong. Again, avoided most of this confirmation hearings.
I haven't seen anything. The only person I can think of color really in a high position, and this is probably just because I'm intentionally not been paying attention, is Kash Patel.
Right.
But that man looks like he's also seen bullshit like Charles in a worse way.
And FBI director is not in the cabinet, so you are right about that. But also what I think is really telling is at this time, evil is institutionalized. You can almost physically lay hands on the institution of slavery. You know?
Yeah.
There are physical places where it has happened, and there are people proudly and publicly without any moral qualms around it. And yet you still had people who were radical in their belief, not only that like there was equality, but that we had work to do to maintain and ensure that equality for every person. James Garfield is also going after this corrupt system that thought they were going to be able to manipulate him. He is appointing his own people and ignoring the like patronage system that is in place that's infuriating no one more so than Senator Conkling from New York, a Republican who represents the stalwarts.
I think you meant James Cuomo. Is that his first name? I don't actually know.
It's Cuomo for sure. I don't think it's James. Andrew sounds right.
Cuomo, yeah.
Senator Conkling from New York is like the physical embodiment of the spoils system. And when he doesn't get his way, Senator Conkling convinces his fellow New York senator, Senator Platt, to resign from the Senate. Now, stay with me so you understand how this works.
What?
They were going to resign from the Senate, which meant they weren't going to be in the Senate for like a month. Their resignation would shift power of the Senate to the Democrats. Then, back in New York, the New York State Assembly would vote to appoint them back as senators because they fully controlled the New York state Senate and state legislature. And at the time, you didn't vote statewide for your U.S. senator. It was appointed by the state legislator.
The state legislator.
And so they go back to Albany, where the New York state legislator appoints someone else. And in that one foul swoop, Senator Garfield eliminates, essentially, the spoils system.
Fucking incredible.
The issue is, by eliminating the spoils system, you are eliminating the last avenue Charles Guiteau believes he has to
wealth,
power, prosperity. And Charles Guiteau, for the record, isn't asking for much. He just wants to be the U.S. ambassador to the Austro-Hungarian Empire.
Jesus fucking Christ!
He is willing to settle for Chile or France, but he would like to go to Vienna. That is where he would like to go.
Jesus Christ!
I know, and that's where the question of is he delusional or is he calculating really does kind of constantly come back. He's aware of the spoil system. He thinks he can be ambassador to Austria-Hungary. Is that narcissism? Is that syphilis slowly attacking his spinal cord?
I don't know if I agree with you that it could be, there's any world where it's calculating. I think that's full, like, I don't want to say psychosis. Like, I don't want to use that word lightly, but like, that's delusion. That's delulu. I don't like, I understand a man seeing a system, and especially a man who is so prone to fraud.
Right.
Seeing a system he feels he can either use or exploit, depending on your view of it. But that's insane.
So, Charles Guiteau on the street approaches Secretary of State Joseph Blaine, the main senator that helped get James Garfield elected.
Right. So he was the one that Garfield was making a speech for?
No, that was Sherman. That was someone else entirely.
Okay.
Joseph Blaine was running opposite of Grant. And then when Grant lost, Blaine then also lost because like Garfield won it.
Right.
And Blaine was like, I'm in your team. I'm in your boat. I see a good guy in you. Obviously, I wanted to be president, but I'm glad that we are moving towards a progressive position, whatever.
I can respect that.
Guiteau finds Secretary of State Blaine in the street and is like, I just want to talk to you one more time about becoming the consul to Paris. And Senator Blaine on the record says this: never speak to me again on the Paris consulship as long as you live. He goes, leave me alone.
Incredible.
And so Charles Guiteau is then left with one last option.
Murdering Garfield?
He's going to steal the president. He's going to steal the Declaration of Independence.
Okay.
No, he's going to murder Garfield.
Okay, I saw where that was going pretty early on. I saw
I'm
the
sure
light die in your eyes when I said the assassination of Garfield.
And I was glad for you to have that moment. It makes this then reveal interesting. Because obviously, and
then I was increasingly mad that I had said earlier in the episode, I'm not getting John Wilkes Boothed again.
No, and that's good. It wasn't designed that way intentionally, but like I wanted us to have the airspace to talk about his personality, separate from the fact that he assassinated the president.
To be fair, I wouldn't have known Garfield was assassinated if it wasn't for that screenshot Aileen sent me today.
That's really interesting too, because Charles Guiteau is a character in Stephen Sondheim musical Assassins. So that's why I thought you would know Charles Guiteau.
I don't know Sondheim's repertoire unless it's been on Broadway for like at least 5 years, 10 years.
Since we know where this final chapter is, the final chapter is literally titled "One Final Job," which I thought was both poetic and maybe a little too on the nose, but I was like, I don't have the ability to kind of determine between the two. Yeah, Guiteau's about to assassinate James Garfield, who will serve one of the shortest times in presidency ever.
Right.
But the headspace that Guiteau was in when he started planning that, when he started making that decision, and when he actually then did it, I mean, it is questionable. This is a man who believed he could ply favors for a job.
Because it wasn't that he disagreed with Garfield, was it?
That's so interesting, too. Politically, no.
Yeah.
Politically, him and Garfield actually probably had a lot in common.
Because that's the big thing with like Lincoln and Booth, that it was like a huge discrepancy between morals.
Which is interesting, too, because then that is... Like, there is a link between Guiteau and Wilkes Booth.
Shut the fuck up.
And not like an actual,
you can't do that shit to me.
No, I'm sorry. And I know I've burned that bridge around John Wilkes Booth because of what I did to you in One Final Act, which again, also maybe one of my best episodes ever.
One of the best titles we've ever come up with, actually.
I agree. But Guiteau didn't have moral, philosophical, like political issues with Garfield. He was concerned that Garfield moving away from the spoil system would mark the end of the Republican Party. And the end of the Republican Party does mean the end of the advocacy that Garfield stands for.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see where that's going.
But also he believed that if he murdered Garfield, Chester Arthur would become president, who would then give him a job. Would pardon him and then give him a job.
That's
delusional again. So it swings back and forth between areas you can see traction.
Okay,
even
like
if
there
you disagree.
are like A plus B equals C, but then like C times B does not equal Z.
Right.
You know?
And I think the larger media portrayal of Charles Guiteau is basically like he was a lunatic who came out of nowhere and for no reason at all murdered James Garfield. And I understand the accuracy around those headlines to tell that story.
Yes, I do too. I see where you're coming from.
Right.
Yeah.
I just also feel like.
I also understand his villainy.
Right. I think Charles Guiteau's arc up to that moment is American enough to warrant study. I think there are things that we should reflect on. And I also think by so truly and flippantly dismissing Charles Guiteau, we also dismiss his victim, who was perhaps that decade's greatest civil rights advocate. But by making his assassination this weird trivia byproduct, we ignore the fact that we are seeing more black progress under Garfield than we have since maybe Lincoln. Yeah. You could argue under Grant potentially, but like he's for reals walking the walk and talking the talk.
I knew that. Well, we've been over this on the podcast. I have no idea where presidents served. I don't know where in the timeline. You could have told me Garfield was like before Obama, and I would have been like, that doesn't sound right. But like, sure, whatever you say, and like I would have believed you. I don't think I realized that there were two Republican presidents that had gotten assassinated, like basically back to back. Is that right?
Within 16 years of each other.
Yeah, because it was
17 years.
Lincoln in
65. Yeah, and then Garfield in 81.
Yeah, so pretty close to each other. And
exactly 16 years. I'm never that good at math. Oh my God. Sorry. Round of applause. But anyways.
It's a product of 4, but like whatever.
Didn't know that.
5
and 1 are not products of 4. Anyways, go ahead. That's how my brain would think about it.
5 and 1?
1865, 1881. Not products of 4.
16 is 4 times 4.
Okay. Anyways.
I don't think I realized that there were two progressive Republican presidents that had been assassinated. One because he was Lincoln, and then the other like because of the spoil system, but the end result is systematic racism for generations.
And the thing is, like,
systematic oppression is what I meant to say.
It's also so interesting when we think of like historical revisionism, because the easy answer is to autofill these men live and their vision for racial justice then just sails through, as opposed to what's probably the more realistic reality in America, which is like they enact piecemeal parts of their larger vision. They're viewed as a complicated president whose first term was stronger than their second, right? Especially once they become a lame duck president, right? Yeah. And so in many ways, their early political death and also just death, but like, I mean, a lot of these men are like in their 50s or 60s when they die, but like they're at the like peak of their political careers.
Right.
Preserves the what could have been without us having to know the messy what was. Because like Ulysses S. Grant was an incredible advocate for Black Americans, and even after Reconstruction was kind of winding down, regularly sent the federal government for the federal army to the South to enforce or punish or capture. He just also was more corrupted and screwed than like a wine opener. And like that's a complicated legacy to like then process.
How long was he president before he was assassinated?
Who?
Garfield.
Like a year. Okay. No, not even. He's elected in November of 1860.
Right.
He will take office in like March of 1861.
Right.
He's assassinated in July of that year.
Holy shit.
He dies in September of that year. We're going to get into it. I'm just going to kind of stick to my notes for one final act because I do not want to lose. This had like some of the best little bits of information of the entire story. So, Guiteau conceded that the president would be too strong to kill with a knife, stating, quote, James Garfield would have crushed the life out of me with a single blow of his fist.
Okay, what the
fuck?
So
he settled on a gun instead. He was like, even if I brought a knife to this fight, I would die.
Gunfight.
Right, so I will just instead bring a gun.
Good. Thanks for telling us your thought process. Something white men notoriously are really good at.
What's interesting too, though, is like while like Secret Service isn't like a massive thing at the time, like Abraham Lincoln more or less had bodyguards. I mean, obviously not when it mattered, but like had like security around him occasionally.
Right.
James Garfield's kind of viewed as so unoffensive that
like there wasn't a ton of security.
Even the corrupt politicians wouldn't have literally murdered him. You know, they would have threatened his appointees.
I think like the Pinkertons started the Secret Service basically after Lincoln. That's wild.
But like Garfield's walking around and his like schedule's published and like no one's really watching him, you know? He's viewed as kind of largely unoffensive, you know? Like
That's
was acceptable
wild.
to Americans.
It's crazy because he would be offensive today to a lot of people.
100% he would.
I hate it here.
So Guiteau decides to use a gun. Guiteau felt that God told him to kill the president. He felt that such an act would be more of a removal as opposed to an assassination. He bought a handgun. He had to borrow the money to buy a handgun.
Oh, my God.
And then chose one that had an ivory handle to it because, quote, he thought it would look better in a museum exhibit. He was aware the weapon he was about to use would be immortalized forever.
Ew.
More on that later. Having tracked Garfield's movements in the newspaper, which, by the way, he'd go to hotel lobbies and pick up discarded newspapers and then pretend to read them for hours just to have something to do. I mean, he was reading them, but like he would like pretend to read them for hours
so
instead
that
of
he could just sit there.
Right. And that's how he tracked Garfield's movement. He attempted to assassinate Garfield on one occasion, and then by the time he'd caught up to Garfield, realized Garfield was sending off Lucretia to her vacation and she was ailing. And Guiteau didn't want to assassinate Garfield in front of his wife because he didn't want to distress the lady more, which raises the question of intentional planning or delusion again. Like, I still think he's probably having bouts of delusion, but there are moments where he's very much clearly touching reality.
Is that touching reality or just more misogyny of like, this woman can't handle seeing this violence and therefore I must wait? And I don't know if that's necessarily a thought process. I think that might be just an internalized system that society has put in him that women can't handle this and therefore I have to wait.
But I think that's still reality too. Like, I think he's like, I have to continue to respect the norms of this society. Like this, what I'm about to do is inappropriate and thus I can't do it in front of a lady.
I don't know if that's thinking though.
The questions the jury was asking.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Second time he tracks James Garfield, he is alone. He's on his way to the Baltimore and Potomac Railroad Station in Washington, D.C., ironically to go join Lucretia on their vacation. James Garfield had just finished wrapping up getting several of his appointments through the Senate that were anti-corruption and going to run the government well.
Yeah.
When James Garfield is entering the train station, Charles Guiteau approaches him from behind, fires 2 shots. One grazes his arm. The second one enters through his back but does not exit.
So that's why it takes him 2 months to die.
So takes him actually almost 3. Oh. He suffers for 11 months. Sorry, 11 weeks.
Oh my God, I was like, Jesus Christ.
He suffers through for 11 weeks. And a part of that is because the bullet, when it enters his body, does not strike any major arteries, nor does it rupture any internal organs. Like, it's a small bullet shot with a gun that clearly does not have a lot of power because it's a handgun in 1880, that like it moves through his body in a trajectory in a way that like largely misses most of the key stuff. But they believed at the time that the important thing was to get the bullet out right away. And so they go essentially fishing for it because it does enter his body pretty deep with uncleaned hands and unsanitized medical equipment.
So basically, if this had happened today, he would have.
One doctor said if this would happen today, he would only have been hospitalized for 3 or 4 days before he was sent home. But this is also complicated because we don't necessarily have the obviously physical body of James Garfield anymore to investigate.
Yes.
So like he does ultimately die what many assume is from just sepsis and an infection throughout his entire body.
Okay.
That infection could very well have been caused by the bits of fabric that get pushed into his body with the bullet. right?
Oh.
Or it could have been caused by the unwashed surgeon's hand and constant prying. Because in the days after the initial bullet enters his body, they try to fish it out several times. So there's those two things. There's also the issue of the fact that with the bullet lodged basically in the center of his body, he was not eating that much, weakening him because obviously it like hurt to try to digest anything.
Eat anything, yeah.
And so he could have died of starvation. He also, this next two little stories I'm going to tell you are a little bit more graphic. They're not stomach churning, but if you're just not in that headspace, I get it. Plus 30 seconds. It's not crucial to the story, but I do think it is interesting. So plus 30 now. After his body started to heal, some of his arteries started to move back into place to like fill in the hole. And in doing so, were unsupported and one might have ruptured. The bullet moved through his body, created a space that created an abscess that like filled with fluid and infection and eventually burst and like killed him internally. Two horrific ways to go, but ways that could have still killed him even if they hadn't tried to fish out the bullet.
Ugh.
So leading belief is that if they had just basically not treated him at all,
he might have had a better chance of surviving. Yeah.
But there's also a world where that's just a convenient narrative.
I mean, it's like the late 1800s, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, also, as soon as Guiteau assassinates or attempts to assassinate James Garfield, he's arrested, he's put on trial. The trial's a big media sensation. The last two paragraphs of the story is like that specifically. But Charles Guiteau has this incredible quote during his trial where he's essentially like, you have charged me for the wrong thing. Because he gets charged for murder after Garfield dies. Before then, he's just held. He goes, I shot James Garfield. The doctors killed him. It was medical malpractice. That's
a fucking crazy argument to make in the late 1800s. Bitch, how the fuck do you know that? You guys just figured out fucking bacteria.
Well, the thing is, germ theory is a theory, but is gaining credence at the time.
Yeah, because this is around the same time as Mary Mallon, right?
It's only like a decade or two ahead of times. And so while germ theory in terms of food preparation might be a little new still, like they actually learned so much from this U.S. Civil War and then also the Franco-Prussian War and other places that like medicine, specifically in treating gunshot wounds, is advancing very rapidly. And they're like, maybe we shouldn't take our dirty fingers and plug in the hole like a Dutch boy in a leaking dam, you know?
Yeah, it's like, I understand today he may not have been charged the same way.
Right.
I do think he still would have been charged with at least attempted murder or like murder in the second degree, manslaughter, something like that. Like, honestly, you could still argue first degree because it is premeditated.
Right.
His intention was to kill Garfield. And maybe you can't prove that in a court of law.
But what you could try to prove is that in a moment of fury, while experiencing momentary delusion, you committed an act that, while endangered James Garfield's life, did not kill him.
Then second degree murder.
Sure.
Still like, if it's not premeditated, it happens in the heat of the moment. Unless you're going to plead insanity, which I'm sure went super fucking well in the 1800s.
Or manslaughter.
Manslaughter, Manslaughter, I think, is unintentional, though. I think it has to be unintentional.
So was he intentional in his actions at the time?
Yes.
Or was he suffering delusion?
I don't think, insanity plea aside, because I don't know that was on the table even at this point. I think you can argue he knew what he was doing. Like, he had a gun. He chose an ivory handle because he knew it would be put in a museum at some point. It's intentional enough that regardless of the medical malpractice, which I like today should be charged. Right. I don't think the medical malpractice excuses him from the fact that James Garfield could have survived if they had known more about medicine. That's just like, he's like so fucking ingrained in like white cis confidence.
James Garfield had survived, he would have just been charged with attempted murder instead of murder in the first degree or second degree. Like, if he survives, it changes what they can even charge him. And this is what I say. This is what I mean when I say that, like, the story of Charles Guiteau is more interesting, even as a reader and listener, than the version that you get. Because you're like, the corrosive power of an unchecked religious belief system that's grounded in ego and not service.
True.
A society that praises violence at a time where there's both war heroes and violence being committed on the West Coast.
Yeah.
An expectation from white men that they are to make a statement in this world, right? A dismissiveness of women who never really cared about him, right? A political system that was more interested in getting ahead than getting anything right. Like there are stories throughout this entire thing. And also, and this didn't even exist in the 1880s to like advocate for, but today it's like, what happens if your friend believes that they're called by God to do something? What are you going to do? What would you be able to do if tonight, after we recorded, I said some of the things Charles Guiteau said?
Girl, you wouldn't be leaving my basement.
No, I know, but it raises the question of like, who do you call? Who do you turn to? Like, even in today, with the language and knowledge that we have now, the services and ability to intervene on this person and to get them help before they fundamentally wreck their lives or others hardly exist.
It's because we have literally no government support for mental health issues, mental disorders. Correct. I stand by that if this incident happened today and like there was an attempted assassination and then the person died arguably because of medical malpractice, I still think, again, insanity plea off the table. I still think he's guilty.
No, I do too.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if you can fully prosecute that all the way. Like, I think I shared with you earlier in the week, I have a friend in a different state who's going through a tough time right now. And, we were concerned about them. And one of the things we came to was like, there's no one for us to call. Like, the state where this person lives.
Can you not call a wellness check?
We can.
Yeah. But
other than like on a knock on a door with a person with a gun.
Yeah, that's not going to help.
It's not going to help at all.
Yeah.
It's certainly not like a warm, welcoming face of like, hey, like, how about we like get something warm to eat and like just talk for a second, And not like that's all that a person needs in a moment of crisis, but we're so powerless. And
we are.
People in his life, clearly throughout his entire life, thought he was experiencing the world beyond what was actually happening and had no recourse for that.
Yeah.
And eventually that led to the death of a man who could have changed the course of racial justice in this country.
I think today he would have gotten the insanity.
Yeah.
And 100%.
That's so much more interesting than a nameless person killed a nameless president. So the trial for Charles is pretty simple. They name a bunch of high-profile lawyers, some big-name up-and-comers, and also some, like, foundations.
Rudy Giuliani, right?
Yeah, Alexander Hamilton was my, like, stepfather or, like, godfather kind of stuff.
Oh, my God.
We have this, like, crazy, and this is so funny for how young America is, because the trial happens in 1880. So you legitimately have people who, in their early years, would have clerked or worked or met, like, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, Aaron Burr, Alexander Hamilton, like would have had experience with that. And then now they are mentoring people who will be Teddy and Franklin Delano Roosevelt's cabinet members. That is how the history of this country is joined together. And it's all happening in the Gilded Age too, which is crazy.
I also remember when I was a kid, we were talking about like how close it was that because I think there was like some project where we weren't asked to, but we were talked about like, hey, we could ask you to go interview a World War II veteran.
Right.
And then talking about, hey, your parents or grandparents could have been asked to interview a Civil War veteran.
Right.
And like, that's fucking
So that
wild.
link of like founding fathers to people that will serve in Franklin Delano Roosevelt's cabinet, right? That the young person in that group, let's go ahead and bump them down. Who do they link with? Like half the Supreme Court now. Like their mentor's mentor lived in a world where the freedom of Black Americans was a recent political issue to like jurisprudence their way through.
Yeah, and now we have a Black American in the Supreme Court who seems to not understand.
Right. I mean, he understands corruption, so I mean, he got that lesson
true.
at least.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. He understood the spoils.
So,
spoils, aka RV, in case you were wondering.
Guiteau's represented by a public defender for 4 days before the public defender quits. And the public defender's allowed to quit because Guiteau's like, I must represent myself. And the public
Goodbye.
The public defender is like, that's actually enough. He said I can quit, so I can quit. Like, I'm no longer morally required to do this. I'm legally allowed to be free. However, the court is like, Guiteau, you cannot represent yourself. And before they apply a different lawyer to it, Guiteau's brother-in-law, the one that lent him the money for the gun, is like,
my God.
I feel a moral obligation as a member of his family to like represent him. I am a real estate attorney, but I have a law like practice, and I will represent him.
Why was he not allowed to represent himself?
Because he is potentially going to use a criminal insanity to plea.
Oh, so like you can't represent yourself if you're going to use that plea?
No, because you have to have competent representation.
Oh,
like that's a requirement.
Okay.
The defense then calls in Edward Charles Spitzka, a leading, quote, alienist, as an expert witness in support of an insanity defense. Spitzka states that it was clear, quote, that Charles Guiteau is not only insane, but that he was never anything else. While on the stand, Spitzka testified that he, quote, had no doubt that Guiteau was both insane and, quote, a moral monstrosity. He came to the conclusion that Guiteau had the insane manner he had so often observed in asylums, adding that Guiteau was a morbid egotist with a tendency to misinterpret the real affairs of life. He thought the condition to be the result of a congenital malformation of the brain. In response, the prosecutor, George Corkill, said, quote, he's no more insane than I am.
Oh.
There's nothing of the mad about Guiteau.
That man should be investigated for corruption.
Oh, yeah. But are you enjoying my Southern lawyer interpretation of him?
I loved it. Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah, it was. No, it was good.
He's a cool, calculating blackguard, a polished ruffian who has gradually prepared himself to pose in this way before the world. He was a deadbeat, pure and simple. Finally, he got tired of the monotony of deadbeating. He wanted excitement of the same other kind and notoriety. And notoriety. Thank you. Mm-hmm. And he got it. Sorry, it's highlighted in green, so it's like a little bit harder to read than the usual stuff. Good. On the day of his verdict, Charles spent much of the morning busily preparing his lecture series that was going to help launch his 1884 presidential campaign.
You are fucking kidding me.
I am dead serious. He's like, they're going to find me not guilty today. And when they do, I'm going to launch my lecture tour. I'm super popular. People are going to want to know me. I have a whole book written about me. And then I'm going to run for president in 1884. In the movie Death by Lightning, it's portrayed as Lucretia Garfield is the one that purchases the right to his book to ensure it never gets published.
Fucking
iconic
shit.
Could not find if that was true or not, but what I can tell you is that she does spend the rest of her life preserving her husband's legacy and burying his.
That's what Warren Buffett should be doing with his money.
If you are unsure yet if you should watch Death by Lightning, you're like, Grant, you haven't really sold it on me. First, it stars Nick Offerman as a drunk Chester Arthur.
Oh, done.
Who's the vice president.
Absolutely incredible.
It's so great. It stars the actor who plays Josh Lyman, who's only ever in political shows. Yeah. Josh Lyman was a West Wing character.
Right.
It's great, but like it builds up beautifully to Lucretia's conversation with Charles Guiteau in the final episode, which again, probably historically dramatized, but it's incredibly worth it.
Yeah.
Just like that moment alone on like legacy. And it gives very much, what is it, Elsa Hamilton? What was Hamilton's wife's name?
Eliza
Hamilton. It gives massive Eliza Hamilton energy.
Ugh, don't remind me of that ending song right now.
So anyways, he's found guilty, which is a complete and total shock. And like a month later, he's led to the gallows.
Oh,
that morning, he writes a poem titled "I'm Going to the Lordy," and he has a deal with the person who will pull the trap door. This next part obviously talks about death, so plus 30 seconds if you don't want to hear that. The deal is, when Charles Guiteau is ready, he will drop the piece of paper that has the poem in his hand. The poem, which is also kind of a song, Matthew McFadden does an incredible job performing in the show. Charles Guiteau kind of sings his poem, bursts into tears throughout it. At one point, cries on the shoulder of his executioner. And then once he's done, a black hood is put over his head. And he drops the paper and the trap door is pulled. And that's the end of Charles Guiteau. A much more interesting story than we get.
Yeah.
A man who is guilty of attempting to kill James Garfield for pulling the trigger and shooting twice. A man who probably then should die for that. A man who never experienced any success. A man who probably experienced immense humiliation.
Yeah.
A man who wanted to be proud of his life. And I think turned to narcissism, or the brain did, to protect him from the reality of what his lived situation was. A reality that he helped craft, 100%. But also a reality that he just had to experience and live through. And also a reality that was not worse than the 4 million Black Americans who lived in slavery and didn't turn to violence, and instead shot down the man that was those people's advocates. So that's Charles Guiteau. Like, a character you can understand, a character you can at times sympathize for without forgiving his actions. You mourn for what was lost. Here's your end credits. Lucretia Garfield outlived her husband, James Garfield, by nearly 37 years.
I'm not ready.
I know. 4 years after his death, in 1885, Lucretia Garfield would do something special. She would build a library on their farm to preserve his works.
Is this where we get presidential libraries?
First person to build a presidential library.
And now we have Donald Trump who's going to try and put a plane in it.
Go ahead, enjoy this photo of Lucretia, her 7 children and grandchildren in 1906.
Holy
25 years after James Garfield's death. Lucretia will volunteer for her local Red Cross in 1914 when World War I breaks out, and will pass away in her home in southern Pasadena, California, from pneumonia in like 1919. Surrounded by her children and still protecting the legacy of James Garfield.
Oh.
Black Americans lost a tremendous advocate.
Yep.
And James Garfield was the last Republican president in that massive line of succession.
Right.
Chester Arthur was his vice president, who will step into his role afterwards.
And do a shitty job.
He'll do more. He'll continue James's legacy around corruption, more complicated legacy around racial justice. And then Grover Cleveland,
right,
one of 2 non-consecutive termed presidents in American history, will win in 1884. And that will mark the end of that Republican spree.
Right.
Grover Cleveland wins in 84. Then a different person wins in 88. Grover Cleveland wins again in 92. And then the person that will die and make Theodore Roosevelt president wins election then. But really, with the election of Grover Cleveland, this string of civil rights-minded Republican presidents ends.
Because, in a really bad time.
Really, really awful time. Because the Democrats at this time are now full-on Ku Klux Klan members in the early 1900s. And the Republicans that are running against them are in the bed of like poison the water, work the children to death, like, monopolies. And it will take a Great Depression and a Second World War in the 1930s to fundamentally reshape American politics around the axis of racial justice again.
It's fucking crazy that it took us like 100 years and then we still ended up with like Jim Crow era.
Yeah. We're actually kind of at the start of it. We're at the birth of it. And it makes you wonder too, like, would the Jim Crow era have developed the way it did if James Garfield got a full 4 years? Because Reconstruction ends under Rutherford B. Hayes, who's the Republican right before Garfield.
Right.
And Rutherford B. Hayes is only there for 4 years and does a lot to damage
Reconstruction. What do we call then the 1950s?
So
in terms of racial justice,
Reconstruction is like 1865 to like 1875, 1880. And then you have the Jim Crow South from 1880 to like 1950. And then you have what we would call the Civil Rights era.
The Civil Rights era.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like in my head I was calling that the Jim Crow era or like Dixiecrats or Dixie Chicks.
You see Dixiecrats in the civil rights era.
Okay.
But the Jim Crow era really is like 1880 to like 1950,
it's
1960.
Earlier than I had thought. It's just... And whatever. We're still fucking here.
Do you want to see a picture of the gun that was used?
Absolutely, I do. You know I do.
There's the picture of the gun.
Oh,
it's at the very bottom. Just go ahead.
I just scrolled all the way to the top.
Yeah,
That's
you did.
Fine.
So there's a picture of the gun. And it's a really good thing that we have a picture of the gun because the gun was pretty quickly given to the Smithsonian Institution after it was confiscated by the cops.
Yeah.
And they lost it. So he picked a gun that would look good in a museum, and we can't find it.
It's still gone?
Yeah, it's gone. Yeah, we still have no idea where it is. Until recently.
I hope this gets found before Isabella Gardner's museum painting.
I do too. Also, until very recently, we forgot we had Charles Guiteau's brain in a jar. Like, basically what happened was after he died, after he was executed via hanging by the federal government, an autopsy was performed, and obviously there was like no one there to advocate for his body, so they like took a bunch of his stuff for like science and like an autopsy, and like as part of that process, whatever they took then was like preserved because they weren't going to put it back in or anything.
Yeah.
Like that would be horrific. Sorry, like all of this is horrific. I'm trying to find my way out of this sentence that I started before thinking about what the exit plan was. Yeah. But anyways, they jarred everything up and kind of forgot about it.
The exit plan, unlike what the bullets had and Garfield's body.
Correct.
Okay, cool.
Death by lightning starts off that way with like in XX year, they accidentally were emptying out this like storage closet and found a jar with a brain labeled Charles, middle name Guiteau, and like that's when everyone was like, "Oh yeah, we have this."
He deserves to be forgotten. A little bit, you know. I mean, he was forgotten in his life. And then what's this picture underneath? Is this illustration?
Like an illustration of him at the train station. Yeah.
Yeah. Yikes. So this is all fun and good. Love this.
I mean, the opening part, though, the first couple chapters, when we were talking about how much of a loser he was, those were funny.
Again, I found out today Garfield was assassinated. So this has been kind of a crazy, wild ride for me.
I love when I can accidentally line up with people of agency.
I'm so excited to tell Aileen. And the episode we're recording tomorrow comes out on Monday because Aileen's like reordering the episodes. Again, I'm doing almost no work in this podcast. It feels great to be you. I mean,
absolutely it does.
I'm actually doing less work than you on this because I don't do any of the research.
Do the research either.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I know you do so much more work, but that was almost 5,000 words.
You are doing more work than I am for people of agency. I like provide a sounding board sometimes, and then sometimes we'll read the script before we record, and most of the times I don't read all of it before we record. So for me to find out today that Garfield gets assassinated and then to record an episode apparently where Garfield gets assassinated is crazy. He's way more interesting than I was ready for, and like less so in a way that John Wilkes Booth was, in terms of like John Wilkes Booth, I was like, yeah, this man is like, would absolutely mansplain to me at a bar while I'm trying to drink a beer. And this guy, I feel like I would have avoided at all costs at the bar. You know, like he's seeing things that aren't there. He's hearing things that aren't there. But like, then it's also an interesting discussion on mental health and like the care that we have and had and still don't have for that kind of stuff. And
I have in now post credits like two very quick thoughts. I think first is the legacy of the assassin a reflection of the legacy of the assassinated? Like Lincoln's assassin is like hugely well known, right? And that story is big and dramatic, and there's all these little anecdotes, and the story is very rich throughout all of it. And then James Garfield, for his limited impact at the time, I mean, potential is whatever it is, but limited impact at the time, his story feels like such a footnote, right?
What other presidents had been assassinated before Lincoln?
None. Lincoln was the first one. There had been presidents who had died in office.
Yes.
But there had never been a president assassinated.
It feels like, I think you had talked about at one point, it's like the window of like what's socially acceptable or like morally acceptable. I don't remember what the term is. But it's the same thing with like school shootings that happened today. It's that like the first one is hella dramatic, and now we don't hear about them anymore.
Well, especially what's I think really interesting too is so Garfield is a victim of assassination. Like 15 years later, McKinley is a victim of an assassination. That's what makes Teddy president. And then while campaigning, Teddy actually gets shot himself and finishes the campaign speech before going to go get medical service. And so you
some people finish their speech before they leave the stage. Mr. Donnie.
Okay, I was like, who are you referencing right now?
Piggy.
But like, so it was like this rash of assassinations, and then you don't see it. And then like Lee Harvey Oswald, the man that assassinates Kennedy, is still kind of a mystery. And maybe it's for some big conspiratorial reason, or maybe it's because Kennedy was full of hope, but hadn't actually really enacted a lot of change. And a lot of Kennedy's vision gets enacted by LBJ, who has in almost every way the exact opposite
legacy.
Yeah. Right. I mean, and LBJ is so wonderful, but Kennedy was a pretty boy from the North. LBJ was kicked in the face ugly from the South. Liberal, educated Northerner, Southern racist who did use the N-word publicly.
Oh, good.
But like also passed the Civil Rights Act and would never go anywhere in his road trips between Texas and Washington, D.C. that his black housekeeper or nanny wasn't able to join the family for dinner. And so it's just like these complicated legacies around like death and life and assassination and politics, and all of it, and this is now my last word, comes from the incredible history podcast Hardcore History with Dan Carlin.
Yep. I was like, say it, Grant, say it.
Well, because I was trying to remember which assassination it's about. Yeah. And it's about the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. And Dan Carlin argues that more so than in anything else available to us, assassination is one way the average man can alter history forever. That it is this like weird little blip in like the timeline or little chink in the armor or whatever it is, where it's like you can be a nobody who can point a gun in the right direction and fundamentally change the trajectory of an entire country or region or continent or world forever.
Well,
and that's this story. I think we should name this episode A Case of the Mondays. Because it's Garfield. I'm joking.
What the fuck?
I'm joking. And that's what I've always loved about this podcast. The elasticism, the dynamism, the ability for us to one moment be like, and that's, I mean, any person can affect change.
Racism.
Garfield joke. We've already used the term sex martyr.
Yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea what to call this.
One final job feels loaded.
Final act.
Final act part 2. More final, more furious.
More furious.
Too final, too furious.
Too final, too furious. I feel like the word failure has to be in there somewhere. Just out of spite at this point.
Failure to launch. We can get all the SEO results for the Matthew McConaughey movie.
Yeah, I didn't know much about presidents till like 6 months ago, it feels like. And then I was watching Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, and I understood an LBJ joke, and I was like, oh.
You're welcome, girl.
I like giggled, and I was like, I didn't, before Grant, I didn't know that LBJ was during Vietnam. Oh, okay. I also didn't know why Vietnam was maybe an embarrassment for the United States. Okay. I had to like pause it, and I was like.
Not you being like, holy shit, there's some depth to Last Week Tonight with John Oliver.
There really is.
I gotta rewatch some of these older episodes.
Dude, there is.
No, I know there is.
He's actively right now. So if you're listening to this, like now, I don't know if this has ended. He is auctioning off every season. He always does these like fucking insane, like his job is the dream.
Yeah.
Like he has these bits that last the entire season. Like last season, I think or maybe 2 seasons ago, he had offered a literal legal contract. He had it approved by lawyers that he was offering to Clarence Thomas to pay Clarence Thomas $1 million a year and give him a brand new RV if he stepped down from office.
Gorgeous.
Obviously, Clarence Thomas said no, but like it was a legitimate thing. And so he like continued advertising it. Then there was like the thing where he advocated for a certain bird in like
I love that.
Not Australia, New Zealand to win. So this one is he is auctioning off money to support it's like food banks or something similar like that. And they had auctioned off a separate organization had auctioned off some Bob Ross paintings. It's not a food banks. It's in support of public media and then Bob Ross is like foundation or whatever had auctioned off some of Bob Ross's original paintings to support public media because Bob Ross was on public media. And so they asked that foundation, like, they tried to buy one of the paintings so that they could re-auction it off. They didn't win the auction. So they asked that foundation, like, would you be willing to donate another painting that we can auction off? And they said, sorry, we like can't say yes to everyone that asks.
Right.
So they instead decided to auction off just all of the crazy ass props John Oliver's team has made for all of the silly little bits that he's done. And a month ago, he covered toast, like the depressed toast that we saw in Prague.
From East Germany, yes.
Yeah, I don't know if that's on auction. I don't think it is. But like, he has all this crazy ass shit. And then at the end, there's this reveal that Bob Ross's foundation came back and like donated a painting, like an original Bob Ross painting. I checked the website when I watched that episode, and like the lowest price that things are being auctioned at right now is like $1,000 or $2,000 or something like that. And it's all this like crazy ass shit. That's the fucking dream.
Yeah.
I don't know where I was going with that.
It's okay. You mentioned LBJ.
That's right. Yeah. Every once in a while, I hear jokes about presidents, and I'm like, oh.
I experienced that So Raven movements with like your stories too, where I'll be like, oh, well, don't you understand? Oh, why do I know that?
It's true crime, isn't it? Be honest.
A lot of times it is. Yeah, a lot of times it is. But that's okay. The Tylenol came up a lot recently.
Really?
It did. Yeah. Well, I teach academically serious high school students, so they are always sick. They are always ill.
And they seem like they come from mostly families that afford Tylenol.
Yeah, name brand stuff.
Yeah,
good for them. Any other final guesses for the title of this episode?
We'll think about it. I don't know.
National Treasure.
National
We're not
Failure.
doing that. Ooh, okay. I still think Failure to Launch is funny, but
Failure to Launch is funny, but I don't think the launch aspect makes sense. Yeah. We'll think about it. We'll workshop it.
Go ahead and mute it so I can say what I want to say, but not on air. Say it. It's bad. I told you
Grant
it was bad.
just a disappointment.
Yeah, not good. Yeah. Not good at all.
I'm glad you made me mute that because I would have still just bleeped it out anyway.
They would have been able to figure it out.
Yeah, whatever. It's fine. So whenever we say things that we don't mean to and I have to bleep it out, I bleep it out and then I put a little box over our mouths.
Oh, so you can't see us mouth the words?
And then someone commented like 2 weeks ago that was like, I came to YouTube so I could try and read Grant's lips. And I was like, one step ahead of you, bitch.
Because I'm like very expressive.
Yeah. I might not be able to read his lips, but I know some of you can.
Failure to connect. Failure to... I'm just doing word association right now until I can land on something.
I think we need a break and then come back to it.
I want to be a cowboy. No, okay. Yeah, I think we should have a break. All right, we'll see you on Patreon. So if you enjoyed this episode, thanks. And tell your friends.
And tell Grant in our messages.
Yeah, God's perfect sample. God's perfect
TikTok
stem cell.
is where you can tell me I'm depressed.
Listen to the listener episode if you don't get that joke, which we're going to be making a lot more of. Join us on Patreon for additional content. Join us on social media for fun. This episode is Shoot Your Shot. We're recording the listener episode after Thanksgiving, so please submit stories for Shoot Your Shot. Find additional content on Patreon and send the perfect gift this holiday season as a cameo from us.
Yeah.
And I think that's it.
Yeah, I think so. Sure.
Rate us 5 stars. And are we still voting on what episodes we should release during our holiday break?
Yeah, at the point this releases, up until the day we have to release those episodes, they can keep voting. That's fine.
Nice. Okay, fun.
Yeah.
All right. We'll talk to you later, friends.
Okay, bye. Love you.
Bye.